Back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where we are just counting down the final moments before the command to start engines. And the mood here has changed on pit road as this crowd of over 400,000 people begins to be separated from the crews and the drivers as they begin to focus in on the task at hand. Looking at the crowd, they are ready to be entertained. And the drivers are ready to do just that. A little bit different than in years past here. But now is when we begin to count it down in earnest. Now is when the greatest spectacle in racing takes on a whole new importance. For those that are new to the Speedway, it's something that's indescribable. And to start it off, the Purdue Band and the National Anthem, which will be sung by Mr. Tom Hudnut.
So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous night. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Tom Hudnut and the Purdue All-American Band. We return to the start-to-finish line as the combined U.S. Armed Forces Color Guard stands at attention. Here is John Totten for our next introduction.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, our invocation today from the Most Reverend Edward T. O'Meara, Archbishop of the Catholic Archdiocese of Indianapolis.
It is race weekend once again. It is also God's weekend. It is our country's Memorial Weekend. There are tens of thousands of us together this morning in this stadium. We are from every state and from many countries of the world. In the way our conscience tells us, let each of us pause to offer worship and praise. We thank you, God, for the blessedness of being human. We are sisters and brothers to each other. Help us respect each other and treat each other gently without violence. Make our world more peaceful, God. Make us restless until our hostages are free to move about, to live their lives in freedom, and to gather as we do today. Help us be mindful of those who have died for our country from its beginning in 1776 to the sailors who perished so recently on the battleship Iowa. Have them all in the hollow of your hand. Bless those who have suffered unfinished deaths in the service of our country and are the survivors of conflict, wounded in body and spirit. Ease their pain and help them to know that all of their fellow Americans are grateful to them. It's race day, too. Watch over our 33 skillful and courageous drivers, their mechanics, and their crews. And one thing more, dear God, help all of us to enjoy the day, return us safely to our homes and work, and continue to bless us with this glorious sunshine. Amen.
Now, Jim Philippi.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please remain standing? On this Memorial Day weekend, we pause here in a moment of silence to pay homage to those individuals who have given their lives unselfishly and unafraid to make it possible for us to witness, as free men, the world's greatest sporting event. We also pay homage to those men who have given their lives unselfishly and without fear to make racing the world's most spectacular spectator sport.
Dave Calabro for this introduction.
Race fans, another fine tradition here at the Indy 500. It's time for the annual singing of Back Home Again in Indiana. It is my privilege to introduce to you the man who sings it oh so well, Mr. Jim Neighbors. Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still burning bright through the sycamores for me. The newborn hay sends all its fragrance through the hills I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the wallbounds, how I long for my Indiana home.
Let's go! Jim Neighbors and the Sea of Balloons and the Purdue University Band leaves the start-finish line. And we turn our attention now to the head of the starting field and waiting for those magic words.
This final moment of anticipation, Danny Sullivan sits ready in his machine, positioned 26 places back. Mary Fendrick Holman ready to give the command to start engines. As the formal ceremony,
ladies and gentlemen,
come to an end.
We are at that time of the day for the command that will start the 73rd running of this event. And here to give the traditional 4 words is Chairman Emeritus of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Board, Mrs. Mary Fendrick Holman.
the pole sitter, now so completely isolated with his own thoughts, alone for this moment, alone for the next 3 hours. Mario Andretti. Will this be a second win for him? He has tried so hard and for so long. Al Unser. Will this be a possible 5th win today? There is so much promise in the running of the 500 miles. So much that these drivers might anticipate. Jim Crawford, the Buick power behind him. As the crews, a final handshake, a blip of the engine, over 25,000 horsepower, roar out their challenge in the main straightaway now. And in just a few seconds, the field will begin to pull away. The crews raise a hand to indicate that their engine has started, that they are ready to run the 500 miles at Indianapolis. The grand champion, A.J. Foyt, the most victories ever in the Indy cars. Young Michael. He's won at other tracks. He's never won here. Could this be his day to carry on his family's legacy? And Danny Sullivan. What must be going through this man's mind? A fractured right arm. And the hand that grips the wheel so tightly at this moment. Cleared with the exception of the cars and their starting crews. And now the field begins to roll away. The 11 rows of 3. Bobby Unser is in the pace car with perhaps the best view at all. Bobby?
Yes, it is, Paul. The people are standing. Everybody's waving. I can't see an empty seat in the house. The track is clean. There's no paper on it. It's a beautiful track. We're taking off now at about 40 miles an hour. Let the guys get their transmission oil warmed up, their engines oiled up. The crowd is just cheering so loud I can hardly hear myself.
Bobby Unser works through the south chute. There's a shot of Bobby. Bobby, you'll pick the pace up to about how fast by the time we get going?
Well, as soon as all the cars get started, we'll be wanting to run about 80 miles an hour. We want to stay enough ahead of the front row where they don't get any spark plugs fouled. We want to make sure that the road is clear, make sure that there's no debris, water or fuel or oil or anything like that on the racetrack, Paul.
So Bobby Unser in the pace car works his way through the first turn right now. You can see the corporate suites. One car still having problems, and now he fires and moves away as the entire field is ready to go. Scott Brayton faltered for a moment. No, here is a car with a problem. The 33 car, that of course belongs to Rocky Moran. Let's take a look at this starting field. One last opportunity to review how the rows line up. The first row, of course, Mears, Unser, Fittipaldi, all with a great deal of promise. The second row, Jim Crawford, Mario Andretti, Scott Brayton. The third row, Bobby Rahal, Al Unser Jr., Raul Boesel from Brazil. The fourth row, A.J. Foyt, Randy Lewis, John Andretti. The fifth row, Teo Fabi with the Porsche power, Gary Bettenhausen, Ari Leyendyk of Holland. The sixth row, Finland's Tero Palmrock, rookie Scott Pruitt and Ludwig Heimrath Jr. Didier Tays and Bernard Jourdain, both rookies in the seventh row, along with veteran Michael Andretti. The eighth row, two winners of the race, Tom Sneva, Gordon Johncock, and Irishman Derek Daly to the outside. The ninth row, the fastest rookie in the field, John Jones, of course, Danny Sullivan, and Kevin Kogan. The 10th row, Rocky Moran, if he can make it into a starting position, Dominic Dobson, and Bill Vukovich III. And the final row, Davy Jones, Pancho Carter, and USAC Sprint and Midget champion Rich Vogler. Danny Sullivan works his way around the track. Let's get an update on his physical condition. Here's Jerry Piper.
Well, Paul, 17 days ago, Danny Sullivan was lying on an operating room table in nearby Methodist Hospital, his shattered right forearm being pieced together by this steel plate and these metal bolts. Now, Sullivan has been cleared to drive, but he must wear a specific special splint that will limit the use of his right arm. Now, what he can do, he can extend his hand at the wrist just a couple of degrees to grasp the wheel. What he cannot do is rotate his right forearm in or out. That may create a problem as he tries to make his way onto and off of pit road. Now, just moments ago as he climbed in the car, I was privileged to a conversation between him and his orthopedist, Terry Trammell. He asked Trammell one question, very simply: what can I expect? Trammell's response was one word: pain. He said as the afternoon progresses, that right forearm will begin to swell inside the split. It will begin to throb and pulsate. The pain could become almost unbearable. No one, not even Danny Sullivan, knows if he can tolerate the torment. Paul, those questions and many more will be answered a little over 3 hours from now when the checkered flag falls.
All right, so we'll be watching for Danny Sullivan. Michael Andretti, car number 6, one of the other cars we'll be keeping an eye on today as he starts back in the 21st starting position. Very difficult to tell his car from his father's, but Michael has the black number 6 on his car. And Gary Bettenhausen, with his problems already beginning, he has begun to slow and rolls to a stop on the home stretch. The field has begun now the second of the 2 parade laps, but Bettenhausen with a problem. He does not appear to be under power, and he appears to be rolling to a stop. His crew will perhaps be able to come out and get him restarted. That's just a matter of conjecture at this moment. Gary Bettenhausen stopped. The nice bright white car with the red number 5, that belongs to Mario Andretti. As he works his way now, beginning to surge forward on the backstretch, checking the gauges for a final time. A.J. Foyt, 4-time winner, the familiar number 14, a solid black car here today with A.J. Foyt orange trim on the machine. A.J. works his way around. Could he be a 5-time winner? Well, there are A.J. fans here that think that's very, very possible. The front row weaves back and forth. That yellow car, number 4, that belongs to the pole sitter, Rick Mears. And then 2 closely identical cars belong to Al Unser and to Emerson Fittipaldi, number 25 and number 20. So Bobby Unser, as you work the field around now, how's that race course look? Bobby Unser, how's the race course look?
Paul, right now I'm watching all these people cheering and going on. I wish I was in a PC-18 on the front row starting this race. It would make this Pontiac seem slow, but this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing to see today.
The rest of the field strung out behind the pace car. Let's go to the pits, Brian Hammonds.
Well, because of the way they qualify here in Indianapolis, there's an interesting mix of cars and drivers at the back of the pack, specifically rows 6, 7, and 8. There are several drivers with very little or no experience at all here in Indianapolis, but there are also 2 very fast cars driven by 2 of the hardest chargers in racing, Michael Andretti and Tom Sneva. So when the green flag flies, everyone will have to be very careful, or the first 2 corners could be a real adventure. Paul, back to you.
Well, Brian Hammonds, there is, of course, some concern about this car. The 99 machine that belongs to Gary Bettenhausen. The crew went out onto the straightaway and retrieved it. They have quite a push to get it back to his actual pit area where they can first apply the tools to it and start to get it in performing order and hopefully into this field.
Brian Hammonds makes the point about the difficulty in the back of the pack. You know, most of the drivers will have planned exactly what they're going to do in the first couple of turns, and sometimes that planning can be an obstacle if things begin to develop that are unexpected, an accident begins to develop. Incidentally, some practice speeds from 3 days ago when the cars last ran on this track. Al Unser was fastest at 2:17. Remember, this was in race trim, not in qualifying trim. Mario Andretti was second fastest, Rick Mears third fastest, and Crawford, who of course is starting from the second row, was quite slow. So it's quite a volatile situation even at the front, Paul.
The pace car begins to accelerate, as does the field. The field up in the north end of the track. We look back from Bobby Rahal's car as they begin now to stream toward the green flag. The pace car is off the track. The field running down toward the green. A line.
Bandeira verde, aí está! Bandeira verde, começa a maior prova de automobilismo de todo mundo. Emerson! Pula à frente o brasileiro! Pulou à frente o brasileiro de forma espetacular! Impressionante como se lançou à frente o brasileiro! Lá vem o Brasil na frente! Emerson de forma magnífica, repito, porque ele largou junto ao muro. E veja bem, parece que os outros não largaram. Impressionante o Brasil! Dias, avança! Começa a maior prova de todos os tempos, você acompanhando aqui pela Rede Bandeirantes. E é por isso que interrompemos o futebol. Não é toda vez que um brasileiro larga na primeira fila. Tem Emerson, disparado na frente. Dias o segundo. Alonso o terceiro. Impressionante a forma com que ele se lançou na largada. A gente conversava ainda ontem à tarde que era muito difícil a sua situação. E o medo até de que ele pudesse ter algum problema na largada. Ele dizia, não, Luciano, vamos com calma, porque a prova é longa, são 3 horas, são 200 voltas. Mas de qualquer forma, ele se lançou de uma forma brilhante, largando como nunca vi. E olha que eu confesso foi a carreira do Emerson. Nem na Fórmula 1 ele largou tão bem como ele largou aqui, às vezes até na pole. Tá aí o Emerson. Você tem uma ideia, está com 2.2. 2 segundos, ponto 2 do segundo colocado.
To hold off on charging Mario Andretti. The fight is for third place. The second lap run at 213.7 miles an hour. So already a torrid pace being set here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
There is every anticipation that a new record speed is going to be set today. As Bobby Unser said, the track... almost a move by Mario there. The track has been repaved. It is very, very fast. Temperatures are cool. The wind has ceased to be a factor. We could be in for a very fast day here.
Well, Mario continues to worry Al Unser Sr.
Isso já é um grande ponto. Outra coisa importante na carreira do Emerson para essa prova de hoje é que ele deve fazer cerca de 7 pit stops, cerca de 7 paradas no box, praticamente obrigatórias, independentemente das bandeiras amarelas que possam surgir. Um outro ponto também, para alertar a vida dos nossos brasileiros que estão torcendo, por exemplo, por Raul Boésio. Olha aí, Luciano.
Impressionante. Olha o piloto ali, né? É o Kevin Coogan. Agora ele saía andando, amigo, olha lá. Kevin Coogan numa batida. E para a felicidade geral de todos nós, eu até me assustei aqui. Ele sai andando. Ele deve estar completamente tonto, né? Não sabe o que aconteceu. E bandeira amarela, a primeira bandeira amarela. Kevin Coogan. Primeira bandeira amarela. E vamos ter a nova largada. Você viu o que é uma prova como esta, hein? E foi quase que à frente dos boxes. Então, Emerson ali. Vamos conferir o Boésio. Está na 9ª posição após 4 voltas. O Coogan está sendo retirado o capacete do Coogan. E felizmente não houve nada de mais grave. Aliás, não houve nada com ele, né? Olha o capacete, porque o carro dele não sobrou absolutamente nada. Dê uma olhada a você que acompanha a Bandeirantes e o show do esporte em todo o Brasil. Bater aqui, vamos ver a replay. Vamos ver com calma o replay. Vamos ver quando o Coogan... Não é possível ele sair andando. É um negócio inacreditável, hein? E outra coisa, hein? Percebam vocês que ele estava no bolo. E não houve nenhum choque com o outro. Agora é impressionante como ele sai, ele desliza, ele perdeu totalmente a sustentação. Quer dizer, o carro parece que ia lá.
Vocês estão observando a câmera que está no ponto contrário, no reverso do ângulo, que é exatamente o que aconteceu com a câmera da ABC. Foi o comentário que o speaker da ABC acabou de fazer. E que ele não se conforma, como o nosso amigo Kevin Coogan não sofreu nada, porque ele bateu a 354 km por hora no final da curva 4. É exatamente no ponto em que o piloto começa a estar mais rápido no circuito.
Bom, evidentemente, quando a gente diz que ele não sofreu nada, é em função do carro que explodiu, né? Quer dizer, que esse tipo de acidente é o tipo de acidente que há muito tempo não acontecia durante um grande prêmio, hein? Voltamos já já. Bandeirantes, o canal do esporte. Foi realizada já uma volta com bandeira amarela, já estão partindo para a 6ª volta, enquanto que os produtores da ABC estão programando mais um replay, porque realmente o Elias Júnior foi muito feliz quando ele disse que o carro realmente se desintegrou, né? Não sobrou nada do carro, hein, Elias?
É verdade, não sobrou nada do carro e você vai poder observar daqui a pouquinho na repetição da ABC, quando eles mostram o lance acontecendo e depois a volta do carro. Você acaba observando exatamente como o carro se desintegra. E você pode observar também a rapidez com que o departamento médico aqui de Indianápolis foi atender o que a ideia da competência custa $750 mil por temporada. E para que vocês possam conhecer um pouquinho melhor, enquanto vai pintar a repetição aí de novo, o Kevin Coogan é um piloto que está correndo com o Matt Cosworth, 88, é da Califórnia, tem 33 anos de idade e já correu 8 provas aqui em Indianápolis. Realmente, praticamente se desintegrou o carro, Luciano.
O que pegou ali na câmera foi a roda, né? E ele vem no cockpit sendo arrastado. Olha só, ele está aí dentro. E quando ele foi retirado agora, enquanto nós estávamos no comercial, ele foi colocado numa maca com uma proteção no pescoço e evidentemente deve ter afetado alguma coisa, não é possível. O fato de ele ter saído ter saído andando já é um milagre, né? Agora, sem nenhuma escoriação também era demais. Olha só, a câmera está colocada aí, que é a entrada do box. E a roda pega na câmera. E é só a câmera, viu? Não tem o cameraman. Para felicidade também é só a câmera.
São 38 câmeras que a ABC colocou para essa transmissão e nos pontos críticos, como por exemplo esse da entrada do box, e também alguns pontos muito altos, a ABC não coloca a cameraman, e sim controle remoto.
O carro deu uma levantada ali, né? Quase que ele decolou. Agora tá frágil esse carro, hein? Vamos ser bastante honestos, porque teve gente que bateu no treino. O próprio Jim Crawford, que bateu no treino, que largou na 4ª posição, teve que mandar o carro para a Inglaterra, refizeram o carro. Olha o que sobrou do carro. Praticamente o motor do carro inteiro, né? Bom, 6 voltas completadas, está saindo de ambulância o piloto Kevin Coogan, ele que foi companheiro do Emerson Fittipaldi um bom tempo, né? Há 2 anos atrás na equipe. O Kevin largou exatamente na 9ª fila.
Backed it into the guardrail at the pit entrance, hit her pretty hard.
The good news is Kevin Coogan seems to be okay. Paul?
So Kevin Coogan takes a trip to the track medical center, but he appears to be all right. 6 laps are now complete at the Indy 500. Emerson Fittipaldi leads, and we run under yellow.
I'm going to go for Bettenhausen.
We're back live at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're under yellow. The pits are still closed. There's the reason why. They're continuing to pick up little parts, pieces of debris as a result of Kevin Coogan's accident. His life most certainly saved by the safety designs in the car and the attenuated barrier that allows itself to collapse at the end of that pit wall. On board with Michael Andretti, who so far in this race has had a pretty good run. He started 21st. He is now up to 13th, and he did that in 2 green flag laps. We now have 8 laps into the record book. And Emerson Fittipaldi is out in front, but of course running under yellow. Ahead, you can see the rest of the field that lies just ahead, the 12 cars ahead of Michael Andretti.
Of course, we had talked about high record speeds. That is not possible when the field is running under the yellow. If the race becomes one filled with incident, then of course the focus shifts to the pit crews. Pit work is always very important here. You see Gary Bettenhausen now being pushed back into the garage. He had started from the middle of the 5th row, his best opportunity for years. That Bettenhausen obsession, that long-time saga continues, certainly without a resolution today.
So as Gary Bettenhausen, terribly disappointed, heads back to the pit. Once an Indy car is taken behind the pit wall, the day is complete. They can't do repairs in the garage area and bring that car back out.
It's ironic, isn't it, Paul? Look at how calm everything looks. These cars virtually parading by. This in contrast to the savage severity of that accident to Kevin Coogan. I saw him there, incidentally, with his wife, Tracy, so I know she knows he's okay.
All right, now throughout this race, we're going to use a number of different racing terms, and we prepared a little glossary to help you understand them.
Here are simple terms that express much more complex ideas. For example, we may say a car is pushing. Push or understeer is the tendency of the car to continue straight after the wheels are turned. The best example of push came last year with Danny Sullivan. Watch his hands. As he turned, the car went straight, and he pushed into the wall. The opposite of push is loose or oversteer, when the back end of the car tries to slide out once the wheels are turned. Last year, Scott Brayton got loose. The back end swerved out. He overcorrected, fought the car, and lost to the loose condition. We also refer to the stagger setting. Stagger is making the right rear tire slightly larger in diameter than the left rear. It helps the car turn left easier because the right rear is driving the car into the corner. The short chutes are straights that link between the first and second and the third and fourth turns. In the race, we'll refer to the move-over flag. The starter will display this flag to advise a driver another car is following closely. Sometimes a driver will be black flagged. That means report to your pit, where a race official will either check your car for safety or reprimand you for a violation. The Indianapolis 500 is 200 times around the 2.5-mile track. Lightly banked with 2 5/8 mile long straights, it is lightning fast. Bobby Unser takes us for a tour.
Okay, Paul, we'll start by going right down the front straightaway, across the start and finish line, and into turn 1, pulling over 3 Gs of side force. Drifting out right to the short chute wall, going into turn 2, again pulling 3 Gs of side force. Very important how fast we get off of that turn to get down the back straightaway the fastest that you can. Nothing to obstruct your vision down here, but the driver will get over real close to the wall going into turn 3, diving right down to the white line again and literally drifting right out to the north short chute wall and into turn 4. Important again how fast we come off of this turn, because they're going to run approximately 230 miles an hour down the front straightaway. The racetrack is smooth as glass right to the start and finish line.
But not at speed at the moment. At the moment, it's behind the pace car. Bobby Unser no longer involved in the driving of the pace car. Don Bailey now has the wheel and will take it around on any opportunity that there is a caution flag. Here is on board with Michael Andretti. Now remember, he started 21st. This is back at the start of the race, and maybe we'll get an idea as we watch this at how Michael was able to thread his way up through the pack to position number 13. That's the Porsche Teo Fabi that lies just ahead of Michael as he works his way into turn 3, gets around the Porsche, and now sets sight a little further up.
Well, you can watch how everybody is vying for the other guy, trying to figure out where the other guy is going to be, and that's exactly what Michael is doing. Sometimes he's going by the right-hand side of the car, sometimes on the left-hand side of the car ahead of him. The biggest problem is those guys in front right now, because of all the traffic, can't be looking back at Michael. They have to worry about what's in front of them, and Michael knows this.
Now, something I'm sure you were watching, Sam Posey, there is a rule here now that says you can't continuously drive with all 4 wheels under that white line. Michael did it on 2 corners there. That's going to be a close call by officials when they have to decide that.
Yes, it is.
So we're under yellow at the Indianapolis 500-mile race. The 73rd running. Emerson Fittipaldi is still out in front of the field after Kevin Cogan's accident. We'll be back.
We're back at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I'm Dr. Jerry Punch, and we're standing with Dr. Henry Bach outside the Hannah Emergency Medical Center. And Henry, you've just checked over Kevin Cogan. How is he?
Kevin Cogan was brought in here after his track incident. He was awake and alert. He's complaining of some neck pain and some right arm pain. We're going to send him down to the Methodist Trauma Center for further evaluation and treatment.
Henry, you were able to see the accident on those monitors in there. You, probably like many of us, couldn't believe that he would be able to walk in as well as he did.
I guess we've seen it before, Jerry, and it continues to amaze us, but we're very pleased that it comes out this way.
Another tribute to the safety equipment on these cars. Let's go up pit road to Jackaroo. Jack?
Jerry, it's a very quiet gasoline alley for Gary Bettenhausen. Gary, this was supposed to be your year, and you're out. What happened?
We don't know. Something, I think the cam broke or something. Was just the first gear warming up, and all of a sudden the engine went pop, bang, and I quit running. And
your feelings, though, you know, you really had pointed towards this one and felt that this was the best shot you've had since probably mid-1970. How do you feel now?
Truthfully, I can't say it on air. Disappointed, you know. I really felt I had a chance to run right up in the front today, and with a little luck, maybe even win the race, because it's a 220-mile-an-hour race car.
You said it before when we did the story on the Bettenhausens. You don't know how many more years this family can give to this place. Any thoughts now about that?
I have to start counting days again. Seems like a long time till next year.
Well, it's the 35th year that a Bettenhausen has been in the 500 field. Gary Bettenhausen now looks ahead to year 36. Let's go back again on videotape and take a look on board Michael Andretti's car as he approaches the accident scene. Debris all over the race course. Look at that, down to the left. Pieces of Kevin Cogan's broken race car strewn all across the track. There's a wheel to the right. You can see them working down in the pit area. It's a very, very devastating crash. A lot of parts on the track. Now, let's go over to Brian Hammonds.
Paul, I'm very pleased to have the Vice President of the United States here with me, Dan Quayle. And Mr. Vice President, you've been to this race so many times, but I understand it took some schedule juggling to make it this year.
It did take some juggling in the schedule. I was not scheduled to come here, and all of a sudden I said, look, I always go to the Indianapolis 500-mile race. There were some concerns about security, but we got everything worked out, and we're delighted to be here. I couldn't imagine missing my first race of Indianapolis as Vice President. I didn't.
You said you've seen this race over 20 times. Have you picked up any favorite drivers over the years?
Well, you go back over the years, Parnelli, Jones, of course, Mario Andretti and A.J. Foyt have been here for a long time. You now got the Penske cars. They dominate the front row. You watch those cars, but it could be a very interesting race, as it usually is.
Who's your choice here today?
I don't have a favorite choice. It will take somebody very special, very skillful to beat that front row.
Mr. Vice President, it's been a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of the race.
Thank you very much.
Paul, let's go back to you.
All right, Dan Quayle. I bet he's got a little better seats this year, though, Sam, than he would in the past.
But you know, he said it would take a lot to beat that front row. How about superstitions? Do you realize that number 4, which is Rick Mears' number, has never won a race in a year except one ending in 0? And do you realize that no one has won from the middle of the front row since Mario did it in 69? That might put Al out. And how about Emerson? His problem is he's got too many letters in his name, believe it or not. Donald Davidson, the great historian out here, pointed out that in the last 20 years or so, you have to have a short name like Mears or Foyt or Unser to win this thing.
Well, the field works its way down the home stretch again, completing lap number 14. All but 12 of those laps have been run under caution, 12 under caution and 2 under green. Now on the 15th lap as the leader comes across the line. Fittipaldi is still the leader of the race. He has led in 3 different 500-mile races, and they are now reporting that Kevin Cogan will in fact be taken to Indianapolis Methodist Hospital, where he will be examined to make sure that everything is okay. The medical center here, while it's very, very good for immediate trauma, is better used only for the immediate situation. Let's take a look at this accident again, because it puts me in mind of 1964 when Dave McDonald, in a very similar spin, crashed against the inside wall, burst into flame, but didn't have the advantage of being caught by the outside wall and went into the path of Eddie Sachs. It took both of their lives. Look how much better the safety is today. Now the field begins to accelerate as they come toward the 4th turn.
Sai o pescar. De novo. Vamos ver se o Emerson vem de novo. Olha o Marandrati por fora. Raio Andretti assume a 2ª posição. E agora a briga vai ser brava ali. Emerson mantém o 1º lugar, Mário Andretti o 2º. Rick Mears fica para a 3ª posição. O Mário, o velho lobo, veio com tudo. É um excepcional piloto, de um carisma. É um dos favoritos também para a conquista aqui das 500 milhas de Indianápolis. Começa a corrida na volta de número 16, Emerson Fittipaldi do Brasil em 1º lugar, Mário Andretti em 2º, Rick Mears em 3º. Vamos ver se mantém a mesma condição de largada. Largou de forma estupenda o brasileiro. O Mário está chegando ali. Exige uma concentração danada esse circuito. O Emerson
out in the pits, and that's really a good old USAC sprint car start, what that is. But nonetheless, Mario did get by into 2nd place.
The 20 car Emerson Fittipaldi is running in the lead of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. We'll update a couple of drivers for you. Rocky Moran was finally able to take advantage of that yellow and get underway. Remember, he had trouble starting his car when the command was given as well. So Rocky Moran, after 8 laps under yellow, was able to get into the Indianapolis 500. And Jim Crawford, who started in 4th position, dropped back a little bit and is now running in 8th place. At the front of the field, it's still Emerson Fittipaldi. Now followed by Mario Andretti. Rick Mears is running in 3rd place. Al Unser Jr. is up in 4th, and his father is running in 5th.
What you see right now, Paul, is that some of the cars are separating a little bit. There seems to be a distance between, for example, Emil, Mario, and then to Rick. And the reason for this is very early in the race. The racetrack, as far as being slippery, is just still a little tiny bit slippery. The guys don't want to run in the turbulent air for a little while until they can kind of feel each other out. Other than the pass that we saw from Mario, that's about it for right now.
Well, Danny Sullivan is playing it very careful. He has that broken right arm. You're on board with Bobby Rahal right now as he works his way around the speedway.
Rahal, you know, once told me that emotion is the enemy of the race driver. You try to keep your emotions in check, but you know, on a beautiful day like this with a giant crowd like this, if your car is running well, and Bobby's is running well, it's hard not to feel a sense of exhilaration. Bobby, you've been out front. That's
looking out the back.
Yeah, you've been out front in this race. Did you feel a layer of emotion entering into what you were doing?
Sam, I was talking to Ray Hall down at the starting line just before the race started, and he's the coolest cat you ever saw. He was describing how he came here his rookie year. He walked out through the garage area, he looked at this crowd and said, "Oh my gosh, would you just look at all of this?" He says, "I didn't even know if I should be here."
Now here is a car into the pits. It's the 91 car, Gordon Johncock. And the way he wheeled it in and the way the crew is approaching it, it looks like he may also be done for the day, Bobby Unser.
That has to be terminal. It looks like it's something in the engine department because it definitely just shut it down totally. No enthusiasm. So it was definitely terminal, Paul.
Now, Bobby, something we're going to have to keep track of as we watch them take the back cowling off of Gordon Johncock's car, two-time winner at the 500, is the situation with this white line rule where they can't run continuously under the white line. What's your understanding of the situation?
It's very vague, and it's another judgment type of call. I felt that it should either be a rule or not a rule. Not good to do it that way. So the drivers know that they can do it. For example, as long as they're trying to pass somebody or using it for safety. Now, on a driver's viewpoint, that's going to be any time he wants to do it because that would be his argument. The problem with it, of course, is if USAC decides to do it, they can zap them like a stop-and-go penalty, which could, in fact, cost them the race. The rule is just too vague, Paul.
Already now 21 laps of the 200 are complete here at the Indianapolis 500, and Emerson Fittipaldi begins to approach slower cars in the field, working his way through the first turn. He's a great two-time world champion. He really knows how to work his way around this race course, but like all people, he's subject to nerves. We ask him how he handles his nervousness.
With the years of experience, I'm able to sleep. If I found some place where I can lay down and sleep, I love to do that. And I think that's a way to take all this pressure from like a balloon that you build up a pressure and it's there. And then this balloon pressure started going down and I'm able to, with doctors I check, I'm able to get my heartbeat nearly my normal before the race starts. I can be down to, I would say, 65 beats per minute, just a few minutes before the race starts. And I think that's when I'm feeling really great.
Emerson Fittipaldi leads on the backstretch. Slower cars just in front. Didier Taze, he comes around him, comes to the inside now. And the rhythm that he keeps here is going to be critically important to him to make sure that he can get around the course and time his passes without actually getting involved with a battle with one of those slower cars.
Rhythm is important, but sheer speed has become very much a factor. Emerson turned a lap 2 laps ago when he was in the clear of over 218 miles an hour, which is faster than anyone went that Thursday when they last ran. As they say in horse racing, this track is playing fast right now.
And Emerson has become quite an over-track racer. He comes to the road circuits, he comes from Formula One. And Emerson Fittipaldi is certainly broken into being a good over-track racer.
Well, if there was a question about Danny Sullivan's right arm, it should be going away at least for the moment. Danny Sullivan, who started 26th, has now moved up 11 positions and runs in 15th place. On board with your nephew, Al Unser Jr.
Well, you can see all the dirt that comes up from the other cars. That's the first thing we see on the camera. That's all debris from the racetrack. Shows you that as clean as this racetrack is, it doesn't get completely clean. There he's going to the left, 3 abreast, going right down the front straightaway with Al Jr.
And picked up 3rd place from Rick Mears as he did so. So little Al moves into 3rd as Rick falls a little further back in the field. Shades perhaps of last year. Is there a handling problem there? Or is this Rick's strategy? Just stay in touch with the lead.
Well, when you speak of last year and we see little Al pull out to pass Didier Taze, he's lapping Taze there. But the point is that last year, and there's, boy, Rick Mears not taking this pass easily. last year, at this point in the race, Rick Mears was almost a lap back already. Here's Fabi in the pits. That
Fabi, the Porsche, has a problem. He slowed on the race course after moving up to 12th. And Gordon Johncock is out of his car and out of the race. Let's go to Brian.
Gordy, what was it that put you out of the race?
Evidently something happened to the engine going down the back straightaway. It just blew up.
It's a hot, sunny day. What are the track conditions like?
Well, the track conditions are real good. They've never been better.
Gordon Johncock, two-time winner, done today. Paul?
Gordon Johncock has not finished a 500-mile race here since he won in that close finish with Rick Mears back in '82. And look at Rick Mears as Al Unser comes past Rick Mears and picks up a position as well. And Bobby Rahal is right in there, too.
Rahal is really pushing it right now. You see him in the center of the screen. This is a great battle. Of course, each of these men has won the Indy 500. And one thing about having won this race is once you've tasted that,
Rick Mears tries Rahal to the inside. Mears ducks under that line, tries to get Bobby Rahal, can't do it.
Now, Paul, that's the white line rule deal that we're talking about, that it's okay. There's Rick running all four wheels under the white line, trying to pass Rahal. Now, that's totally legal to do today, so the folks can watch as the race goes on.
There's a patented Rick Mears attempt as he takes it almost to the grass on the backstretch and gets around Rahal again.
Now, what that is, that's brute horsepower. That's a Chevrolet against the Cosworth. Now, Rahal has the new short-stroke Cosworth in there with two of them in the race, Lyndyke and Rahal. Obviously, Rahal's running very good, but not as good as Rick Mears, because Rick just outpowered him.
Rahal now runs in 6th place. Rick Mears was able to get up to 5th. Here is Danny Sullivan and Emerson Fittipaldi coming to overhaul Sullivan, and Sullivan now goes 1 lap behind the leader.
Now, the reason he can go by on the straightaway like that, Paul, is just because Emerson's getting through the turn better. Danny's arm obviously isn't working as good as it does when it hasn't been broken. So he doesn't go through the corners quite as fast, but therefore straightaway speed's a little slower, and Emo just passed him right down the straightaway.
All right, so Emerson Fittipaldi is out in front of the Indianapolis 500. We're seeing some great battles in the top 6 as we continue here from Indianapolis. We'll be back. We're back live at the Indianapolis 500. A tremendous fight for 5th place, as that's Al Unser Jr. on the outside, and Michael Andretti comes to, or Al Unser Sr. on the outside. Michael Andretti comes to the inside. They've been battling along with Bobby Rahal in that fight, as well as Michael, who started back 21st, threads his way up through this field and doing an incredible job.
Michael Andretti may be the 2nd fastest runner on this track right now, next to Emerson Fittipaldi. There you see Al Unser Sr. on the left of the screen, closely pursued by Bobby Rahal.
On board with Bobby Rahal.
Interesting thing about Al Unser Sr., he told me there's one problem with not racing often, as we know he races only in the 500-milers. It is, while he's headed into the pits there, this is not a pass strictly on the track. It is that it's hard to get yourself up for running in traffic, and yet he's done absolutely beautifully today. Watch him come fast down this new smoother pit lane. You can judge your braking distances much more accurately than you could in the old days.
So Big Al comes into the pits. He started in the front row, the center of the front row. The Penske team goes to work on that car, and as there's a shot from our pit cam. It's actually mounted on the right front wheel changer's helmet as he comes around the car, and Al goes into the action. Here is the leader, Emerson Fittipaldi, and Jack Arute is there.
Emerson Fittipaldi's Patrick led.
Na volta de número 34. O líder Emerson Fittipaldi. Tudo ok aqui, tudo ok ali. Vamos nós. Tudo bem, tudo bem. Não foi tão rápido que nem o Al-Unser, mas também, e vamos voltar direitinho, né, campeão?
Fittipaldi goes back into the action. Rick Mears has also made a stop and moved back into the fight. On board with Bobby Rahal now as he stops.
Well, there's little Al just leaving right now, Paul. He's been in, had his stop. Everything's under the green flag so far. He's got a car in front of the pit.
Diga, já viu que tá confusão, né? E na competição de pit stop, ou seja, na competição em que 14 segundos cravados. Em segundo lugar, a equipe do Mário Andretti. E em terceiro lugar, a equipe do nosso Emerson Fittipaldi. Portanto, uma equipe que foi muito veloz na competição de pit stop.
É uma equipe que está, sem dúvida alguma, entre as primeiras.
Else is coming in, and John Andretti's particular case, he just got caught in a bad position right there.
Now, Bobby, there was some concern. This is a newly repaved pit area here as well. They've covered over the old concrete with asphalt, and they've made it very, very smooth, but some people thought, well, maybe it's going to be a little too fast.
Now we're on board with Michael, but the answer to that, Paul, is it won't be too fast. It's all going to be, there's Michael coming into the pits now. Watch how smooth.
Aí pro box. Olha só a parada dele. Vamos ver. Tudo bem, a equipe do Mário sempre foi perfeita, viu? Ah, não quer água, não quer nada. O homem tem quase 50 anos de idade, viu? Não é brincadeira.
And then they put it up to about 9,000 to pull away.
Now that's Mario. As Mario Andretti, two very closely resembling cars. They're teammates, of course. Mario, you can tell the difference because he has the red number 5 and the red dot on the nose. Now here is Michael as he leaves the pits after that stop. So it's Mario Andretti and Michael, both members of the team, that make the stop.
Now the rules are when they leave the pits, they have to stay down on the apron until exiting off of turn 2. And there's Michael. He drifted over the line of the short chute, that's no problem. Now he's up in the middle of the racetrack, working his way over the right-hand side, full speed now.
So Michael Andretti, under the green flag, works his way around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, running in 4th place. The leader is still being scored as Emerson Fittipaldi. We'll be right back. We're back live at the Indianapolis 500. 40 laps or 100 miles of the 500-mile distance are now complete. There are the top 5, continuing to be led by Emerson Fittipaldi after the first pit stops. There we go, looking at 6 through 10. Nice little battle developing right at 6th place right now. And Lyondike, Ray Hall, Bosell, Jim Crawford round off the top 10. There's Teresa Fittipaldi, her husband, leading the Indianapolis 500. The whole Fittipaldi family is here. They've had a great week, but they're sure quiet at the moment as Emerson Fittipaldi, for the 4th time in his life, leads the Indianapolis 500. The number 2 car belongs to Al Unser Jr. He has been part of an ongoing fight that has revolved around 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th place. The race started with Fittipaldi jumping into the lead, and then 2 laps later, it was Kevin Cogan slamming the wall, bringing out the yellow for almost 18 laps. And then when they went back green again, Emerson began to steadily pull away. The fight developed behind him. Let's go to the pits. Jack Arute.
This is Jack Arute down on pit road, and there is a problem that has befallen Danny Sullivan and Team Penske. They came in for a regularly scheduled pit stop just about 4 laps ago. They changed tires, and they checked with him and asked him how his arm was feeling. He didn't even mention it. But they have brought the car back here onto pit road, and they are concentrating on the rear, and it looks as if they may have possibly had a problem with the rear end, maybe the ring and pinion gears. Sullivan has killed the engine. He is consulting with his crew right now. He has lifted the visor, and this will certainly put him out of the running to score his 2nd Indianapolis 500, Paul Page.
Danny Sullivan with a terribly long stop as we continue to watch this fight between Little Al and Rick Mears. Bobby, you noticed something in the pit.
Yes, I did, Paul. I just watched them, another sorrow thing for the Porsche people, I just watched them push their car back into the garage area. So they've obviously dropped out with a mechanical failure of some sort.
We continue to watch as Rick Mears works his way around the track, trying to hold off a charging Al Unser Jr. Now to the backstretch. Al Unser Jr. trying to take 4th away from Rick Mears. No problem at all once he got there.
It appears that Rick is just not handling as good as he should. I'm not making excuses for Al passing him. Little Al always goes better in the race than he does in practice and qualifying. In fact, I knew that he's going to be tough all day that way. I really believe that Rick and the Penske's have missed on their track settings just a little bit, Paul.
Well, Bobby, that seems to be true of many drivers, that they race much faster than they practice or qualify. Why?
Well, just a guess on what the setups are going to be. Look at Al cutting under the white line. If you watch Rick when he comes by, pretty soon you'll see that he'll stay above the white line. What happens is they all have to guess at their settings for race day. They really don't know exactly what it's going to be like. Sometimes, because they're so finely tuned, they miss it just a little bit.
So Al Unser Jr., once he is able to get past Rick Mears and get a firm grip on 4th place, begins to pull away just now, and Rick Mears continues to fall a little backwards. But let's remember that it was a year ago that Rick Mears fell a full lap behind the race at about this point, and then, of course, came back to win.
And this is the time during the race, Paul, that the racetrack will get just a little bit slippery. That's a bug just hit the windshield on the camera there. But the racetrack will get just a little bit slippery.
Danny Sullivan sits in his car.
And pretty soon it'll go away and the track will come back again. And you'll see a lot harder race. You'll see the cars group up a lot more then.
All right, so Danny Sullivan has his problems today, as they continue, though, to apparently plan to get that car back into action.
Well, the Penske attitude is if you can make it run, you try your best. And even if it's many laps down, they may put Danny back out on the track. You know, we see as we ride with Al Unser Jr. here, Al, when he rejoined Team Gallus, which is the team he drives for now, after an absence of 3 years, he did so, and with the chemistry of the moment, he came back really as the leader of the team. And although he's only 27 years old, he has considerable self-esteem and confidence, and he's certainly being vindicated right now.
You can see how low he was running on the track. There's Sullivan going back out, so they must have temporarily at least got his troubles fixed, or maybe they got him fixed good, but he doesn't seem to be in a lot of a hurry. But you can watch Al now as he comes down into the turn. He'll get under, well, he didn't do it there, but he's been running under the white line a little bit because of the traffic.
All right, Al Unser Jr. continues to circle this course in 4th place. We asked him, if you hadn't become a race driver, then what would you have become?
If I hadn't have become a race car driver, I would be inclined to fly jets, fly airplanes. I would want to fly the most technically advanced airplane that there is what I would want to fly.
You know, Little Al's favorite expression is the word neat. When things are going well, he says neat. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he wasn't saying that to himself right now, because things are going.
It's not just Little Al's quirk.
You're right. It's an Unser family trait.
Bobby Unser had said it too. By the way, Danny Sullivan was in the pits for 3 minutes and 13 seconds on board with Michael Andretti now as he begins to close down on his dad. Michael runs in 3rd. His dad is in 2nd place just ahead, so it's an inter-team battle for 2nd place. The Andretti family in a feud.
Just a little note on the car setups, Paul. I was looking at you can look at Mario, excuse me, right underneath the white line there all the way. But the setups on the Penske cars, for example, between the Penske team and the Emerson Fittipaldi Patrick team. One of them, like for example, Penske has a real small rear wing, big wicker bill on the back. There's Danny Sullivan back in the pits again. And then the other car has of Emerson Fittipaldi has the big wing with the small wicker bill. Totally 2 different concepts going into this race.
Here comes Michael, going to try his dad. They're on the backstretch. Michael comes to the inside, a whole line of cars just in front. Michael has to get down on the binders hard in the 3rd turn, but Michael gets her.
He had to brake hard, Paul, to keep him hitting that car that he was coming upon and he was lapping there. Traffic got really tight for a while. But it just gives you an idea, like I was saying, of the different concepts that you can do with different cars at this racetrack.
Michael Andretti, that's Raul Boisel just alongside. It's not a pass for position because Michael has 2nd place right now. The car ahead is the 20 car of the Emerson Fittipaldi that he will now set his sights on. 50 laps, or 1/4 of the Indianapolis 500 are complete.
I think Michael has been probably the best handling car so far that we've watched, other than Emerson Fittipaldi. Of course, Emerson not been in the passing race. He's leading the race. But watch Michael as he passes cars. He can just go in the inside and like across the short chute. Right here, he just drives right on by them. Not too many guys do that.
Now, a few moments ago, we said that Danny Sullivan, on his long stop before he came back in, was in the pits for 3 minutes and 13 seconds. In today's terms, that means he dropped about 8 miles behind the race.
Well, you know, it's interesting as we watch Michael rip past his father.
Continuing fight here. This is a fight for 3rd place between Mario Andretti and Little Al.
It makes you think really about the father and son business, because Mario let Michael by. Absolutely. There is Al Unser Jr. tucking back in behind Mario. A classic battle among all these great drivers today.
He tries to get to the inside. You can see that it gets rough when you get down below that line. Another reason not to drive there. The track flattens out once you're down under there. Mario just screaming. Here comes Little Al coming to the high side. Slower car just ahead. Little Al trying to pace his way now onto the main stretch. looking to his mirrors to see where Mario is. Mario is right there as well as they continue their fight down into the first turn. Both very low, trying to avoid that slower car sitting just ahead.
Well, that slower car is really holding them up, really making an exciting race out of it. I guarantee it's got them worried an awful lot. They're having to weave back and forth, making them not know where the other guy's going to go, and they're running all the way down to the track.
Couldn't be worried about that car ahead. That's Rick Vogler. He's one of the real veterans of the tight ovals and midgets and sprints, and he really knows how to get away around an oval. As Little Al continues to work his way past some slower cars and work his way around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, currently running in third place. Mario is now caught up in traffic behind.
Yeah, but Rich Vogler has had some problems here, crashing 3 out of 4 last races that he ran here, but always at the 2/3 mark. We assume he's safe for now. You know, interesting about the father and son. Well, we'll get to that in just a second because Jack Arute is down with Danny Sullivan. Jack?
And Sam, I'm sure Danny Sullivan is somewhat relieved to have this month of May over. A faulty clutch put you out of the race.
Yeah, I lost all the drive. It just coming down the straightaway, I was on the gas and just spinning, so figured I wasn't getting wheel spin at that speed. The Chevrolet wasn't quite that strong.
The question about the arm. You didn't stay in very long, but how does it feel?
Feels okay. I didn't seem like I had any problems. We had just started to adjust the car. We had a radio problem. I didn't like losing a lap early on, but we would have been okay.
Now, 14 Penske, there doesn't seem to be the domination that we've seen in other years. Fittipaldi has broken to the front. Have maybe the Penske team missed the setup just a little bit this morning?
Well, it's a long race. We're not very far into it. Don't forget, last year I ran away early on and hid, and Rick and Al came back, so we'll see.
To reinforce that, Paul Page, we did check with the crew chief on Rick Mears' car, and he said that's precisely it. They've set a race pace. They're not at all concerned, and they said wait till the second half of the event.
Well, Rick Mears, Danny Sullivan's teammate, runs back in 6th place right now. There's the leader, Emerson Fittipaldi. He has led right from the green flag through a 12-lap caution period and through the first 125 miles of this Indianapolis 500.
Of course, we should remember that at this point in the race last year, Rick Mears was 1 lap down, and he came back to win.
Emerson Fittipaldi is out in front at the Indianapolis 500. We'll be back with more live from Indianapolis after this. And it seems that crowd gets larger every year. Bobby Rahal stopped on the racetrack, and they have brought out the yellow flag as a result of this situation. He's going to have to be towed in. Bobby Rahal stopped on the course.
Bobby Rahal signed with that team, Craco, this year for $1 million. So this is a man being paid $1 million.
And the leader is going to make a stop under this yellow. Comes at a pretty good time for the leaders, really. He last stopped on his 34th lap. We're now on the 61st lap. So they've gone almost 30 laps, and Emerson Fittipaldi and the Patrick team making a stop. Here's Jack Arute.
Well, Chip Ganassi, who's one of the co-owners, was waving at the crew because there was a giant piece of plastic on the front wing. They finally got pulled away. They have changed to the harder compound tires, as we said, as Rick Mears and Al Unser Sr. make their way onto pit road. All the lead cars have now gone to the harder compound tire. The softer tires are now put aside, and when we talk to the fellows here, as Al Unser Jr. also goes by, they're all going to stay with the harder tires. So the tire story has become less of a story now as we near the quarter mark of the race.
Here's Al Unser making his stop again looking from the crew cam, and there's Rick Mears coming out of the pits. Both Penske cars that are left in the race with the retirement of Danny Sullivan now make their stops, and they're back into the action.
They're all three, Emerson Fittipaldi, Rick, and Al, all three have 14.5-second stops. The pit crews are really competitive, like Sam was saying early, and good fall on the pit crews today, Paul.
So the field now begins to form up behind the pace car, though you can see most of the cars are in the pits.
Are in the pits, yeah. At this point, of course, these pit stops are like board meetings. I mean, everybody is trying to decide exactly what to do. There's so many things, as you see Mario stopping, that can be changed. The tires, of course, and you see them changing 3 there, as well as refueling the car. But there's the question of the wings, especially that front wing can be easily changed in its angle. Look at the fire coming out. That's fairly standard stuff. Believe it or not, as spectacular as it looks.
Then what happens there? The paint is burning underneath the wing.
All right, so now the number 5 car and ready back into the action at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 62 laps complete. By the way, there's more racing action coming up this afternoon. Round number 1 of the International Race of Champions from Daytona International, as that 4-race series, world champion drivers in identical cars face off with one another at the International Race of Champions. That's right after our live telecast of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. We're still under yellow at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The tow-in for Bobby Rahal, and there was a problem in Tom Sneva's pit, but very quickly it was doused. There was a little flash of fire. Tom Sneva's car was rolled back away from it, apparently a little bit of a fuel spill.
Sneva bailed out of that car like the athlete that he is. He hadn't anticipated running a full season this year. He really made up his mind, Tom Sneva had, to retire into the world of golf and maybe only do a few races. When this offer came through, he took it, but it's been funny. It's been hard for him, I think, in some ways to get back into the idea that he's a full-time racing driver.
What you saw right on the ground there was water that was poured in, because if you mix water with the alcohol, the methanol alcohol, it just makes it where it just really won't burn.
That's we ought to point out, you can put an alcohol fire out with water, but don't you ever throw water on a gasoline fire.
No, and of course there's no gasoline in any of these cars here. Everyone is here with methanol alcohol. It makes it a lot safer, Paul.
Well, there is the Airship America, the Goodyear Blimp, based out of Houston, Texas. This is the 25th year that a Goodyear Blimp has floated lazily over the Indianapolis 500, and they're giving you shots like this. Tremendous shots. It used to just be a nice, pretty shot, but now you can see first and second place as they set themselves up under the yellow flag. It becomes actually part of the race coverage as technology continues to improve in the coverage of motorsports. Under yellow at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, 63 laps complete. All 63 are being scored to Emerson Fittipaldi, who jumped in the lead right at the start. Bobby Rahal sits by the edge of the course waiting for his crew to come up to the north end of the pits and bring him down for service. Apparently, he's just a matter of him being out of fuel and running out on the track. We take a look at the conclusion, actually going back to lap 50. At the rundown at that time, Fittipaldi, Andretti, Unser Jr., Mario Andretti, Rick Mears, Al Unser, Arie Luyendyk, Bobby Rahal, Jim Crawford, and then a lap behind the leaders, Boiselle, Pomroth, Brayton, Dobson, A.J. Foyt, now 2 laps behind the leaders, as is Scott Pruitt, running in 15th place, then Davy Jones, then John Jones, Billy Vukovich III, then going 3 laps down, Ludwig Heimrath Jr., Rich Vogler runs in 20th place, Didier Taze and Bernard Jourdain also 3 behind the race. John Andretti 4 laps behind in 23rd. We look down through the rest of the field now, 30 cars. Teo Fabi is running in 30th, 27 laps behind, and of course some of those cars are out of the Indianapolis 500. That's a rundown of all 33 cars in the 500, and with the improved scoring that we have, that's, I think, the first time we've ever seen all 33 in the running of the race.
I think if you have an overview of what's happened, it's the surprise that Fittipaldi has dominated the Penske team as much as he has. In turn, the Penskes have not been as strong as we anticipated. The Andrettis have almost taken the Penske place. They've moved up Michael Andretti, of course, from way, way back into second place. So it's been a race, to this point, filled with surprises.
Again, let's go back to 50 laps for those who like to keep score of this race. Take a look at the summary. Emerson Fittipaldi, the leader of the race, at 50 laps at an average speed of 148.3 miles an hour. Not nearly a record, but pretty close to last year's pace. It was just almost identical to last year's. 1 caution, that was Kevin Cogan's situation.
That was a long caution, Paul. The race speeds have really been fast. Notice that Bobby Rahal is going to be out of the race. I think their problem was probably very possibly new engine, new short-stroke Cosworth.
We've got a few of the cars already being scored out of the Indianapolis 500, but now the pace car comes back off the course once again. Dwayne Sweeney, the starter, has the green flag, and Emerson Fittipaldi roars past the 59 car, Carol Pomroth, continuing to lead here at the Indianapolis 500, but it will be a battle at the front of the field because there sits Michael Andretti just behind the leader.
Boy, I tell you, Paul, that Michael was really taking a shot at Emma when they came up that 4th turn and down the front straightaway. He was really hoping that he was going to catch Emma behind that lap car in front of him, box him in and be able to pass him. That Michael is really handling good today.
Michael chasing Emerson Fittipaldi. Some bad luck with Scotsman Jim Crawford, who was lapped by the leader Fittipaldi just 2 laps before the yellow caution came out. He remained ahead of Emma on the track, but he would have been able to close up on the field if he could have gotten around him.
Mario told me Michael is not as patient as I am. He has always done well. He deserves the best. But if there's a flaw in anything he does, it's that he's fairly impatient. He wants to get ahead quickly. He may not be able to get up to Emerson, but if he does, it'll be interesting to see how he handles the situation, Bob.
And as the day progresses on, watch Michael's groove. Michael has a groove around this track all of his own. He'll run lower, not only in the turns, the short shoots he'll run lower, and in the long straightaways he'll run lower. He is literally the only car on the track that runs that type of a groove. Now his dad would probably the next closest to it. But Emerson Fittipaldi, as we'll see the two of them running together, will be in a totally standard like Rick Mears or an Al Unser group.
Michael Andretti works his way around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Numa dura caçada, ele que largou na 21ª posição. Não é brincadeira. É lá, tá indo embora, tá indo embora. Vamos ver nessa volta aí, vai colocar 1 segundo, vamos ver. 1 segundo cravado, hein? Cravadinho. O Ansa que estava na 6ª posição. O Boésio está em 9º. Com essa parada vai para 8º, hein?
Você está com melhor memória do que o locutor aqui da NBC que dizia o seguinte: vai bem pro box, não lança. Aí o comentarista falou: acho que não vai muito bem não, porque ele tinha acabado de fazer um pit stop. E exatamente deve ter algum problema, foi provavelmente solucionado, mas quando o carro começa com problema, dificilmente ele consegue se acertar. E o Emerson Fittipaldi está mantendo uma regularidade impressionante, além até da expectativa.
And what they're trying to do is to give it more free travel. Somehow or another, maybe the hydraulic pressure has built up some heat, expanded, causing the clutch to release just a little bit. This would be disastrous if they can't fix it.
A long 28-second stop as Roger Penske watches over his team.
Well, Penske, more than anybody, approaches this almost in a military fashion and knows what strength in numbers means. He started the race with 3 cars. In effect, he has only 1 left to him now, Rick Mears, and this race isn't even halfway over. So this is not the kind of race that Roger likes to see develop at all.
Al still working his way around the track, trying to come up to speed, but it is not rolling fast. The clutch is still a problem. That would leave Roger Penske with only 1 hope, the number 4 car of Rick Mears, and it currently lies in 4th place.
Keep another thing in mind, Paul. It could be that all 3 cars, remember, they are identical cars. The setups are almost identical on them. Could it be that 3 of them are going to have the same problem? That's the problem they had last year with the wings breaking, the wing bracket. It's possible.
That's what's so important about the Indianapolis 500. It is the first race at 500 miles of the year. The furthest distance these cars have seen in head-to-head combat has been 200 miles. So once they get beyond that, they're into new territory. The view of the great Indianapolis Motor Speedway. First and second work their way through the short chute at the north end. Fittipaldi leads. Michael Andretti runs in second. Then Little Al. Then Rick Mears, the hope of the Penske team. And then Mario Andretti. We'll be back with more coverage of the Indianapolis 500 after this message and a word from our ABC stations. We're back live at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You watch Al Unser's team work on the car from the crew cam on Rick Reinemann's radio. Big Al still sits in the car. Apparently they feel that there is an opportunity to repair this car and get it back into the run. I'm Paul Page with Sam Posey and Bobby Unser. We're at the 73rd running of the great Indianapolis 500. Roger Penske stays in Rick Mears' pit, concerned mostly with that car, but of course his concern spreads to this car and the entire team. One of his cars, Danny Sullivan's, is already out. There's the Penske record thus far at the Indianapolis 500.
Gravíssimo do Kevin Coogan, que felizmente o Coogan saiu andando, né? E até agora nenhuma outra notícia com relação ao problema no pescoço. Mas tenta bater o problema do pescoço é brincadeira. E depois voltou a largar com o Michael Andretti atrás e realmente com tráfego, com tudo, vem mantendo brilhantemente essa primeira posição. Boésio, olha o outro brasileiro, Boésio, 8º colocado. 72 voltas. Primeiro Emerson, segundo para Michael Andretti. Terceiro colocado, Al Unser Jr., 4º, Rick Mears, 5º, Mario Andretti. São os 5 que estão na mesma volta, hein? Depois já tem gente com 1, com 2 voltas. O Roger Penske estava bravo lá por quê, Lia?
Pois é, agora um pouquinho antes do intervalo, nós pudemos observar aí a imagem do Roger Penske, que é o chefe da equipe do Dennis Sullivan, do Rick Mears e também do Al Unser. O chefe não, ele é o chefe, é o dono, é o que manda prender, o que manda soltar na Fórmula Indy. É o homem que constrói os carros com o chassi Penske e com os motores Chevrolet. Ele tem o melhor equipamento. Pela primeira vez na sua vida, na vida da sua equipe, ele decidiu vender o seu equipamento para um outro piloto. No caso, o piloto brasileiro Emerson Fittipaldi, que teve cacife
e que você não sabe nem o que está olhando, né? E é um depoimento importante, até jornalístico, do Henrique Amaral, que esteve lá agora há pouco, no box. Ele disse assim, o seu ambiente não é de intranquilidade, mas é de uma ansiedade, porque o Emerson está em primeiro há muito tempo, né? Quer dizer, o Emerson está liderando, já estamos com 78 voltas, então começa a ansiedade pelo relógio. O administrou, teve que andar rápido, andou, no tráfego saiu, quer dizer, está melhor. Está provado que hoje Emerson, quase com 80 voltas, tem tudo para ganhar as 500 milhas. Agora, tem tudo. Mas para chegar lá ainda faltam 120 voltas. São 120 voltas. E a coisa realmente começa a ficar dramática.
Para nossa comemoração, esse coquetel com vodka. E a outra coisa é que o repórter da ABC tentou entrevistar o Roger Penske. Em outras palavras, a brasileira, ele disse o seguinte: meu compadre, vai tratar da vida, deixa eu sossegado, que já estou com 2 carros parados aqui, que vai ser que...
And Mario Andretti is beginning to close in on Mears. Mears occupies 4th place. Mario is closing.
All the bright heads in the Penske crews will get together as soon as they get Al's car cleared from the pit, Paul. They'll all be trying to figure out what can they do to tune Rick's car during the next pit stop as the race goes on to try to get him more competitive with Emerson Fittipaldi. I think they've got their job cut out for him.
Yeah, I think so too. Roger, you know, is not the sort of person that is upset by not doing well. I mean, I'm reminded of a line about Margaret Thatcher in Time magazine last week. It said, you know, she's somebody that offers you spinach but not candy. And Roger does that too. In times of adversity, he does not become shaken by what's going on.
Rick Mears, the number 4 car, runs in 4th place, but Mario Andretti is closing down. He's closing at about 0.4 of a second a lap.
Well, he certainly is. It's going to take we have a story from Brian Hamilton's pit right now on the tires, Paul.
Bobby, the last time that Mario and Michael pitted, their right side tires were badly blistered. Now, they did not change to the harder compound of the Goodyear tires. All they did was adjust the tire pressure. So they really like the tire, but they don't want to switch to what might be a little bit slower tire in the harder compound. Now, Mario has another problem. When he backs out of the throttle in traffic, he has a misfire. But otherwise, he's okay. Back to you, Paul.
All right. The tires, a concern here always, but they seem to be performing their assigned role here as we continue to watch the defending champion, Rick Mears, and Mario Andretti closing in. Number 1. Mario continues his closure in through number 2, onto the long backstretch, onto the main stretch.
What's it like in Rick Mears' car right now as we look at it? He knows, obviously, he is being outpaced by a team with an identical car, the Emerson Fittipaldi team. Is he shaken by this? I doubt it very much.
All right, let's go to the pits. Jack Arute is with Al Unser.
Well, as we had reported, a faulty clutch has put Danny Sullivan and now you, Al Unser, out of the contention for the race today and out of it. What can you do when you have a situation like that?
Well, it's heartbreaking for myself and for the crew and for Marlboro. You know, we hate it. But it's just something that happened to the clutch, and that's all I can do.
Yeah, but now, no sooner had you gotten out of the car than they hustled you down here to where Roger Penske is perched in front of Rick Mears' pit. Now, what conversation did you have with him?
All that was to try to, because we've had 2 cars go out with the same problem, to see if I could tell him anything to tell him.
There is Rick Mears continuing his fight. Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt, but we have a good fight going on the race course right now. Rick Mears battling continually with Mario. Let's go back to the pits again.
Well, Paul, as we were talking to Al Unser Sr., Rick Mears is still battling with Mario Andretti, but is there anything that this team now can do to adjust Rick Mears' car to maybe save that clutch?
Well, the only thing he can do is to be careful with it. He can't abuse it when he makes these pit stops. I didn't think I did, but I must have. I don't know why it started slipping.
So as Al Sr. says, most importantly, it will come into play when they enter and exit the pits, and they'll have to treat it very gingerly now, Paul Page.
Well,
all right, Jackaroo.
Of course, now the prospect of Al Unser becoming the first 5-time winner here at the Speedway is not going to happen this year. Rick Mears, of course, still on the track, currently running fourth, has a shot at moving up into a tie with Al Unser with 4 wins.
And Rick Mears still in fourth place, still being chased by Mario.
Now, there's nothing Rick can do with his clutch right now, incidentally. His foot's off the clutch pedal. He just keeps it close to the brake pedal. He's not worried about using the clutch. What happens is that the hydraulic clutch, the mechanism is hydraulic from front to the back, and probably just doesn't have enough free travel in it. Sometimes when folks go to the garage, you get your clutches adjusted. That's the problem that they're having with these right now, would be my guess.
All right, Rick Mears works his way around Scott Pruitt and manages to put Pruitt between himself and Mario Andretti. That's Rocky Moran lying just ahead of Rick Mears, the 33 car, who had the problems at the start of the race, as we take a look at Rick Mears blistering up this racetrack. And Mario Andretti stays in pursuit in a fight for fourth place. At the front of the field, it is still Emerson Fittipaldi, and he is being chased by Michael Andretti and Al Unser Jr. Back live at the Indianapolis 500, and somewhat slowly Mario Andretti rolls into the pits. He was running in 5th place, as now the Newman Haas team goes to work on that car. And he came rolling in perhaps right at the end of his fuel tank, because he was just creeping along as he rolled up to his pit.
Well, that's very possible, Paul. They don't know this early in the race exactly what the gas mileage has been. It's because partially the yellows. They really don't get good mileage readings.
All right, let's go to that pit. Brian Hammonds.
Pulling in without power.
Esse pit stop do Mário já com problemas. O Emerson fez uma parada na volta de número 88. O Al Unser Jr. está na frente 1 segundo, ponto 2 do Emerson.
Vamos acalmar os brasileiros aí, porque como a rede ABC tem vários produtores, eles estão dizendo que realmente o Emerson Fittipaldi, apesar deles não terem mostrado, fez um pit stop normal, já voltou, ao contrário do que aconteceu com o pit stop do Mario Andretti, que está sendo um pit stop extremamente demorado, e deu para perceber que tiveram que abrir a parte traseira do carro, portanto, problemas do motor por parte de Emerson Fittipaldi, por parte de Mario Andretti. E aí o Rick Mears parando também o pit stop rapidíssimo.
Bom, o que vai acontecer na volta é o seguinte, quer dizer, o Emerson já voltou para a pista, o Al Unser já voltou para a pista, quem lidera é o Michael Andretti que você está vendo aí. O Michael vai ter que parar, mas o Emerson...
His way around the speedway as we approach the halfway point at the Indianapolis 500. A new leader for the first time in the race. Michael Andretti taking over the lead, but still he must make a pit stop, and when he does so, then it is very possible that Emerson Fittipaldi will assume the lead once again.
Yes, indeed. Michael, we guess, maybe has 1 to 2 more laps in the lead, but it's a heady experience to lead this race, even if it's because here's Crawford.
Crawford was running in 5th place as he came in for his stop. His Buick engine still working for him, one of the question marks here. Also, as we watch Crawford, 2nd place, Al Unser Jr. rolls in.
Emerson ultrapassa, Al Unser Jr. abre esplendidamente. Como ele vai embora? A imagem não mostra, mas Emerson abre agora esplêndida. Abriu muito, 3 segundos. Vai dar uns 3 mais ou menos. A hora que parar o Michael, o Emerson reassume. Tá? Aí está Michael Andretti no box. Vai voltar à sua posição de origem, o brasileiro. Isso, podia demorar um pouquinho, Michael, né? Atenção, conversa, alô? Sem pressa. Daí voltando. Voltou, o Emerson passou. De novo o primeiro colocado. De novo o primeiro colocado brasileiro com 93 voltas. Tudo recolocado. Felizmente, tudo bem feitinho na hora certinha. E o Boesel é o sexto colocado, hein? Raul Boesel do Brasil, o sexto colocado.
Road, and in contrast to the way Al Unser Jr. came into the pits, Emo came in a tad hot. He locked up the wheels and skidded to a halt. And Chip Ganassi, you're the co-owner of the Patrick Racing team. It was a little bit out of the ordinary, but the crew went to work and didn't make any adjustments at all in the car except for fuel. Why?
No adjustments. Emerson's very happy with how the car's running. We're right according to plan. We're half the distance here and a lot of race left.
Do you think about the win at all right now, or do you just not want to talk about it?
Not at all. We got a lot of race to go. I've been here a lot of times, Jack, and there's a hell of a lot of race to go.
Well, that's the story from Fittipaldi's pit, but they are certainly counting on more of what they've seen in the beginning of this race.
All right, Chip Ganassi here now as a car owner, as a race driver for a number of years. Emerson Fittipaldi back into the lead of the 500. And here is the Michael Andretti car moving around the course.
You know, Paul, you mentioned that Michael hasn't led for 3 years. How unique it is to lead.
Michael Andretti runs in second place. In third place is Al Unser Jr. Let's just be quiet for a moment and listen and ride with Michael Andretti. Michael Andretti. He currently runs in second place behind the leader of the race, two-time world driving champion Emerson Fittipaldi. In third place is Al Unser Jr. Rick Mears is a lap behind the race in fourth. We'll be back. We're back live at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Beautiful blue skies overhead. The pylon that scores the cars at the start-finish line. The drivers actually use that as a reference point. Look up and see what position they're being scored in. And when Emerson Fittipaldi looks up, he is being shown in position number one, the leader of the Indianapolis 500. He's been a dominant force as you watch from the blimp overhead, and he works his way around this circuit at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The average speed of the race at the halfway point, 100 laps, just 2 laps ago, was 167.9 miles an hour.
Paul, the ironic thing about it is that has to do with pit stops and yellows. Emerson Fittipaldi's really raised the price of poker racing-wise. He's been running 217 and 218 mile-an-hour laps, and that is awesome at this point in the race.
Emerson Fittipaldi was not expected to dominate the race quite the way he has now. But when you think of this man's long and fascinating life, in some ways, it really is no surprise. In fact, Emerson, in a sense, has had 3 lives, 3 complete, separate, and successful lives. His first, of course, and the one that is perhaps still to this day best known, was as a Formula One driver. He was a racing prodigy, and he developed so fast that he won the first of his 2 world championships.
No Grand Prix da Itália, quando o brasileiro, eu estava lá presente, graças a Deus, 1972, conquistava, beijando a sua primeira mulher, Maria Helena Fittipaldi. E aí, a sua fazenda de laranjas em Araraquara, o escritório do Emerson, deve ser lá em Miami, né? Só pode ser. Oh, beleza. Como é bom a gente ver as imagens do Brasil sendo geradas costa a costa.
and his car owner, the oil man, Pat Patrick.
Well, the question, Bobby Unser, that has been worrying me for the past few laps, we know that the clutch system on two of the Penske cars, two PC-18s, has had a problem. It hasn't manifested itself yet on Rick Mears' car. But if it's a design problem, then does the same design exist on the leader's PC-18?
Well, Paul, I really don't think by now, because we've got two of them had the problem, two of them have not had the problem. I don't think it's a design problem. I think it's a mere matter of an adjustment and the hydraulic fluid getting hot and just releasing the clutch gently.
There's the 1986 Rookie of the Year in Indy cars, Dominic Dobson, as he works his way around this track. What a great story he's been today. He started 29th. He's now running in 9th place. 20 positions he moved up.
Watch for Dominic Dobson in the next few years. He is somebody that is on every top car owner's short list of drivers that they would like to hire if one of their key men drops out. Dominic Dobson from Stuttgart, Germany, has a big future in this sport. He is a very sensible man. He has an engineering background. He keeps calm in almost any circumstances. Big future.
Military parents, born over in Stuttgart. I spent a little time in Stuttgart. My dad was in the Army too, and a lot of us spent time in Stuttgart, Germany. Now, of course, it's that area from which the Porsche comes. We take a look as Dominic Dobson comes down the main stretch at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He had a great run at Phoenix earlier this year. He's really taking to these ovals, so we'll keep our eyes on Dominic Dobson.
29 years old.
Leader of the race continues to be Emerson Fittipaldi. Second place is Michael Andretti. Al Unser Jr. is in third place, but he is a lap behind the leader of the race. Let's go to the pits, Jerry Punch.
Well, Paul Page, it's my pleasure to report a good report on Kevin Cogan. Just moments ago, I talked with Catherine Walsh-Miller down at Methodist Hospital of Indiana, and 33-year-old Kevin Cogan has been released. Now, he has abrasions and contusions, basically bumps and bruises, and that's all. A miracle when his March Cosworth was severed in half up out of turn 4. So Kevin Cogan released just moments ago, Paul.
That's absolutely amazing. That same accident 25 years ago would have resulted in a true tragedy, and here Kevin Cogan. Okay.
That's right, Paul, and if you remember seeing that shot which happened earlier in the show, the engine came completely loose. The transmission engine gathered from the car almost came in and hit him in the cockpit while the car was into the wall. So it's just short of a miracle that Kevin is as good as he is, and we're certainly happy.
Last night I was over at the motel adjacent to the track where many of the drivers stay, and I was asked, what about the fast speed of the race? There's Paul Newman as he watches both Michael and Mario Andretti. He, of course, is one of the co-owners, along with Carl Haas of Newman Haas Racing. I was asked, how fast will the fastest lap of the race be? Well, take a look at Emerson Fittipaldi. My guess was 221 miles an hour. He just cut a lap at 220 miles an hour while he was running in the open. Then he came back into traffic and his lap speed dropped off to 216 miles an hour. But they're setting an incredible pace at the Indianapolis 500. Now, the record to this point is Bobby Rahall's record from 1986 of about 176.2 miles an hour. Emerson Fittipaldi drops low to get past A.J. Foyt. 176 is the record. They're just 9 miles behind that right now, but they're running very clean at the moment, and we just may see a record race.
It's an incredible thing, you know, merely to lead this race, but merely to be in the race. To be a driver in the Indy 500 puts you in pretty exclusive company. You figure there are 624 players playing right now in Major League Baseball, whereas from the first race here in 1911 until now, the whole history of this event, only 580 men, and of course 1 woman, have competed.
580 men, 1 woman, that woman being Janet Dudley, who ran her last race here was 10 years ago. Emerson Fittipaldi works his way around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The key factor in the Indianapolis 500-mile race, down the home stretch. A man who really concentrates on his race driving. Concentration being so critical, we ask him, how difficult is it to be focused?
I think is a demand on yourself, with time, with experience, and knowing exactly what we are doing. You can be under pressure, but you can be focused without being nervous about it. I think that's a big difference on being focused, under pressure, but not being nervous. And as long as you can separate that, normally when myself as a racing driver, under pressure, I do my best, under a lot of pressure. And I think as more pressure as I have, I'm able, exactly what you ask, to focus more and concentrate more.
Emerson Fittipaldi now focused on a pit stop. Jack Arute is there.
Patrick team has gone to work. They're taking out as much fuel as possible. He's been given the signal to go out of the pits. A very good stop. Now, here, just before the stop, we were hearing, and one of the crew members was over listening to the USAC radios, and there was some talk as to whether Fittipaldi would be warned about passing below the white line. So far, no one from USAC has come to this crew and formally registered a complaint about it, but they, in monitoring USAC, are somewhat concerned about it as well, because they've heard the USAC officials talking about it on the radio.
And you watch Michael Andretti pick up the lead of the race, car number 6 there, when Emerson Fittipaldi made his stop. And of course, we mentioned that white line as a real concern. The officials do not want competitors running routinely and continuously below the white line. So they will be very, very careful to watch these cars. There you see Michael get 4 wheels under the line. 4 wheels is the quantity that they're concerned about. And now this race is over the halfway point now. 113 laps are now complete, and they're beginning to pick the pace up now. We'll go back to the start of this Indianapolis 500, which started with just incredibly beautiful weather here, the 73rd running of the 500, as a show of smoke at the back of Rick Mears' car. The last of the Penske Hope is now showing smoke at the back of the car. He was running in 4th. There is his wife, Chris Mears, on the scoring stand. She is in radio contact. She can hear what Rick is saying now, and he is reporting a situation on that car that is not going to please Roger Penske.
Well, Paul, we can't be for sure right now, but most likely that's going to be an engine problem. It's definitely a serious problem because...
Let's go to the pits, Jack Arute.
Well, the report is from Dan Lugenbuehler, who is the information director, is that Rick Mears may have lost the Chevrolet engine. He brings the car down onto pit road, and it is not running. It is smoking. He lifts the visor. They're going to take the bonnet off, but it is over for Rick Mears and over for Team Penske in 1989 as well. Roger Penske talking to Rick getting out of the car. As the crew goes to work, it will not be a Team Penske car in Victory Lane today. It could still be a PC-18 if your leader, Emerson Fittipaldi, continues upon his leading way.
What a terrible disappointment for that incredibly intense man, Roger Penske. His 3 cars were definitely the benchmark, the fastest cars in the sport, first and second in this qualifying field. And now, past the halfway point, all 3 are out of the race.
And that means 2 out of the 3 front row starters are out of the race. Maybe that superstition I mentioned earlier will hold weight.
Well, we talked about this entire situation right at the beginning of our telecast here today. Would this man be able to score again and earn a 4th 500 victory? It will not happen, nor will it happen for Al Unser. The entire Penske team is out of the 500-mile race. Michael Andretti still has the lead of the race with Emerson Fittipaldi running in 2nd. But we'll be back with more coverage of the Indianapolis 500 right after this message and a word from our ABC station. We're back at the Indianapolis 500. Kathy Penske, Roger's wife, family has moved from being participants to observers at the Indianapolis 500 as she sits and watches the crew. There's Roger, the rest of the team, Rick Mears, Dan Lugenbuehler, Peter Gibbons. They all discuss what has happened to their race cars today. They are all 3 out.
You notice, Paul, you don't really see a lot of sadness on Roger's face. He really is sad inside, but he knows this is just another business. He lost a race today. He'll worry about it tonight when he goes home.
Mario Andretti, as he works his way around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, back into the action after that rather long stop, and now you ride on board with the leader. Michael Andretti. Second place is Emerson Fittipaldi. Michael is out in front. But a number of questions yet to be answered. We've now seen one Chevrolet racing engine go bad. There is a Chevrolet on this car. We have seen the clutch system on two PC-18s go wrong. There is the same clutch system on Emerson Fittipaldi's car. He is currently running in second place. Al Unser Jr. runs in third. He has a Chevrolet engine as well. Jim Crawford with the Buick engine is 2 laps off the pace. Raul Boisel with the Judd engine is 4 laps back. So the story's now beginning to play at the Indy 500.
It certainly is, Paul, but it's a long ways to the finish line, number one. There's no Al coming into the pits, but the main thing to remember today is they're really using these engines hard. The race speeds have really been high today.
So Al Unser Jr. rolls into the pits. He was running in third place at the time that he headed in. The crew very methodically, very carefully, but very quickly goes to work on the car.
That crew won the pit stop contest. They're very good, Paul. They've been without mistakes. They're really working together in harmony lately.
17 and a half seconds, and Al Unser Jr. is back into the fight.
It's interesting. It's been a story of big teams having big trouble today. Penske, of course, all 3 of his cars out. The powerful Andretti team, one of their 2 crippled. The Rahal team, one of 1 out. As we see Michael Andretti.
And of course, it's Rick Gallis' concept. Here we are on board with Michael, showing his head buffeting in the air. Really not very bad, considering he's running well over 200 miles there. There he is into the pits.
The leader of the race comes down, makes his stop, rolling into the pit area. You see the vent valve out in front, and Emerson Fittipaldi comes back, picks up the lead of the race as Michael makes this pit stop. The team already at the back of the car. Michael looking just ahead for that board to be pulled out of the way. He dumps the clutch, and he's back into the action. So Michael Andretti gives up the lead to Emerson Fittipaldi when he makes his stop.
Well, he certainly did. Now he pulled the shield back down. He'd be back up the speed. Now you can see his head buffeting around as it was before. When you see the back shot, it looks a little bit smoother than it does when that camera reverses. The driver really goes through a lot of buffeting, because just imagine sticking your hand out of a window of a car going even 80 miles an hour, much less 230 miles an hour.
Michael Andretti comes back to speed. You can see the debris fence that lines this track passing around behind him. So Michael moves back into the action, stays in second place. Let's go to the pits and Jack O'Rourke.
Rick Mears is the third and final Team Penske member that's out of the race, an expired engine, Rick.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is yet, engine, clutch, or whatever, but you know, everything was working pretty well. We had a low valve, and I could only run about what happened on the start, but you know, other than that, the car was really working pretty decent. We were just going to start making some small adjustments and go from there. We ran a 2:17 lap, and so it wasn't too bad.
Roger, what a difference a year makes. Last year, there was so much jubilation at the end of the race, and now you've got 3 guys that are out of the event just past the halfway mark.
Well, I guess we got to root for Emerson now in our chassis, but these guys did a great job. It's one of those years, I guess, with the clutches, and we don't know what happened to the motor. Evidently, it just locked up, but Rick was telling.
Looks like we've got a problem on the front straightaway, as we were in the middle of talking to Roger, and he turned around and looked as if it was Arie Luyendyk. Is it possible, Roger, is it possible that Fittipaldi could experience the same sort of clutch problem as the rest of the fellas seem to have experienced?
Well, I really don't know. Everybody puts our car together differently. They've got a good crew and very experienced, and he's driving a tremendous race. The car's working well. We'll have to wait and see. This is a long race, as you know.
Paul, we did check with Mo Nunn, the designer of the car that Emerson Fittipaldi, the mechanic on the car that Emerson Fittipaldi is driving, and he did say that they have made some major modifications, both in side pods and the way they hang parts and pieces on their PC-18. We'll try and check with him and see if he may have included the clutch.
Well, Arie Luyendyk, he was running in 5th place when the engine let go on the main stretch. He's now over on the backside of the course.
Now what you're seeing come out of there is water, oil, everything. That's really a blown engine, Paul. I'm sure that is. That's, again, the short stroke Cosworth, just like we had in Bobby Rahal's car.
All right, the Flying Dutchman, Arie Luyendyk, with his engine gone, now is out of the race, and that will bring out the yellow flag at 128 laps while they clear Arie off of the race course. Now let's go back to the first lap, the start of the Indianapolis 500. As the green flag came out, it was Emerson Fittipaldi that charged from the outside, swept across the front of both Al Unser and Rick Mears, and picked up the lead, and then began to drive away in the 500-mile race. This is earlier. This is back 128 laps ago at the start of the race. Fittipaldi was not to be caught in the early going. Down the backstretch, he was incredibly fast, still pulling away from the second place car of Rick Mears. And then lap number 2, coming off of the 4th turn, Kevin Kogan lost control, slid out toward the wall, slammed against the inside wall, and then came to an abrupt stop in the pits after hitting the end of the pit wall. Now, despite what you are looking at here, the report on Kevin Kogan is that he is in fact okay. He struggled out of that car. They dumped water to dilute the methanol fuel so there would be no fire, and Kevin Kogan went to the hospital, Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis, but they say he's going to be pretty sore, but he's going to be just fine.
He should be, and he was really happy to see that water. To go through what he went through, just short of a miracle, I think, and to see that, look at there. The engine just totally separates. A big chunk is the transmission and the engine together, wheels all over the place, and then when he went into the last part of the wall, the engine almost hit him. Really lucky on that one, Paul.
But the lines that connect the fuel tanks, the oil tanks, and the engine and all the coolers are designed to break loose without spilling any fluid. Ari Leyendijk now getting some help from the safety crews as they will try to pull him back into the pit area, but we've already seen that display of vapor at the back of the car, and that engine will not restart.
I think there's just some sort of a problem yet with the new Cosworth engines, but they'll have them worked out before long.
And just seconds ago, while we were reviewing the race, Emerson Fittipaldi came in for what should have been a routine stop as well. Here's Jack Arute, who was there.
And Paul, what happened was what looked to be a normal pit stop turned out to be an inordinately long pit stop. Thank goodness it was under the guise of a caution period, because the crew had to go out, change 4 tires, because they discovered near the end of their stop that a right front tire had blistered. Emerson Fittipaldi, liking the setup of the car, has been pleading with them not to make any major changes on the mount, but when they saw the blister, and it was a very tiny one, they elected to change all 4 tires, so it was an extraordinarily long 37.2 second pit stop, but it was under caution, so he still is out front in this race.
All right, so Emerson Fittipaldi in and out of the pits only 18 laps after his last stop. At 130 laps, that gives the lead to Michael Andretti. We'll be back with more live from Indianapolis. We're back live at the Indianapolis 500, 131 laps complete. Michael Andretti behind the pace car is the leader of the race. Bobby, on that last pit stop, an interesting fact developed.
Yes, we found out through Jack Arute that Emerson Fittipaldi blistered the hard tire on the right front. Jack will be watching the other cars now to see if we're going to be having some tire problems as the race gets into the second half now.
All right, as they come back now around the 4th turn, Michael picks up the pace, and they stream toward the green flag once again. The pace car into the pits. Michael Andretti sees the green. Emerson Fittipaldi is just 3 seconds back. As Michael streams across the line, you can see Emerson just sitting back there, but he gets forced to the inside alongside a slower car as they come through the 1st turn. Emerson Fittipaldi in pursuit now of Michael Andretti.
You know, last year, Emerson Fittipaldi's team spent 4 minutes and 30 seconds in the pits compared to Rick Mears' team, which won the race, of course, who spent just 1 minute and 40 seconds. And some people felt that if there was a weakness in the Pat Patrick team at all, it was perhaps in their pit work. Now, of course, that was in comparison to Penske. The Penske team is out. Certainly the Patrick team is one of the top teams in the business, in the pits, but we did see a problem there. I just mentioned it.
They've had good pit work so far, Pat, and this last one on changing that tire being a bit slow there was because they didn't know. They had the hard compound on the car. They really didn't think it would blister. So the pit man is the guy that found it.
Emerson Fittipaldi works his way around the course. Now, the difference between the 2 tires, Bobby, and this situation has developed. What does it mean for Fittipaldi?
Well, early in the racing month, Paul, again, with the weather was so cold, they had no problems with the soft compound. As the heat came up, they started having problems. Goodyear brought in a little harder compound tire, and that's when all the fast cars should be on by now. Now, as good as Emo's handling, if he's having problems with that tire, that means that if Michael were able to push him real hard, he could blister his tire. Now, we'll be having Jack Arute and Brian Hammonds checking on the other cars to see if the right front tire is going to cause the race to change.
All right, Michael Andretti is out in front of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. Then Emerson Fittipaldi, just a wink of an eye back. And then 42 seconds behind is Al Unser Jr. Now, the rest of the field down below those positions are all running well off the leader pace. For example, the fourth-place car of Jim Crawford is now 3 laps behind the top 3. The fifth-place car, that's Raul Boesel, is now 5 laps behind the leaders of the race. And the sixth-place car, which belongs to Dominic Dobson, we showed you earlier him moving up through the field, is also 5 laps behind the leader. So the fight is at the front of this field. No one else at the moment is in contest.
Now Michael is out at clean air, what we call clean air now, no traffic call. Now he's going to be pushing really, really hard to see if he can keep that gap between him and Emo. Now, Emo's car has been faster. There's Emo right there. He's been generally faster all day. But will he hurt his tire in trying to catch Michael? That's what's going to be interesting to see.
Emerson Fittipaldi chasing and, in fact, closing on Michael.
Every 500-mile race has 1 or 2 key moments where it seems when you look at it a year later, this was when it was won and lost. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we're not looking at one of them right in and around now. What's going to happen in the next few minutes?
Sam, this is going to be their moment for sure to test each other out to see which one of them really has the most speed. They're both set up good. They're well into the race. The track is going from being slippery to being really good right now.
Emerson Fittipaldi chasing Michael Andretti. You can see the distance between the two. 136 laps are complete. Michael Andretti has been turning laps at 217 miles an hour.
And as you watch the cars, don't become hypnotized by just following the car. Look at the crowd in the background. Watch how much ground they're really covering. This is Tyler Alexander in the pit. He is the crew chief behind the Andretti team, rumored to be leaving that team after this race. This could be his swan song with the Andrettis. If so, he's certainly masterminding a terrific race for the Andretti family right now.
Tyler came here with Team McLaren, scored a couple of victories there as well, and then stepped away from Indy cars for a while, and then came back with the Newman Haas team. So if in fact he leaves after this race, we may in fact see him again. Let's go down to the pits again. Here's Jack.
Well, we were talking about the PCA teams and the clutch problems that they've had. We checked with Morris Nunn, who's one of the designers or engineers on the Pat Patrick team, and he said indeed they have made some adjustments in the rear of the car, specifically with the clutch and also with the ring and pinion. I asked him what they were, and he said, those are Mo Nunn's, my secrets. Now, also, checking on that blister, Bobby Unser, it was a very small blister. It was only about the size of this hole right here. So it was an eagle-eyed crew member that noticed it. Remember, they didn't change tires the last stop, so it's not unusual, especially with the ambient temperature out here, as hot as it is. Let's check in further up pit road and Brian Hammonds. Brian?
During Michael Andretti's last pit stop, he changed from the soft compound tire that he'd been playing with all race long by changing the air pressure. He finally went away from that. He didn't like that setup. He went to the hard compound tire. The crew asked him if he wanted any wing changes. He said, don't do it. This car is perfect. So Michael Andretti loves the way his race car is handling right now. Paul?
All right, Brian, on the course, car 15, Jim Crawford, the Buick Power, the man who had such a gorgeous run here last year. The car that was damaged severely, sent to England, brought back to the United States just Wednesday evening, completely reassembled after its bodywork totally repaired. Now comes to the side of the race course. Was running in fourth, but the engine is silent for the moment. Still out in front at the Indianapolis 500 with 139 laps complete is Michael Andretti. And we have an indication that Emerson Fittipaldi, the second place car, is heading for the pits once again. He stopped on lap 112, again on lap 129. This is the 139th lap, as both Michael and Emerson Fittipaldi roll in.
It's under yellow. That
pode sair, não sei se vai sair, né? Vamos lá, Eras. Bandeira amarela, que Deus, que é brasileiro, mandou. Agora vamos calibrar direitinho. Atenção, pega aí o marcadorzinho. Vamos lá direitinho. Não vamos errar nesses pneus agora, meu filho. Não tem que abastecer mais nada. Só põe o carro no chão e vambora. Isso. Não deixa o Michael sair, não. Vamos lá, Emerson. Volta. Isso, garoto. Olha só, vamos sair na frente. Ultrapassagem no box. E não pode ultrapassar porque nós estamos na bandeira amarela. Não pode ultrapassar. Direitinho na linha. Agora sim. Isso, não, Emerson. Você viu? Foi pra lá, veio pra cá. Brasil na frente de novo. No box. Foi no box. E ele tá com o tanque cheio. Tá vendo se os dois estão, menino? Tá vendo se os dois estão, porque ele só trocou o pneu e botou o carro no chão. Ainda nós cantamos aqui que se ele fosse botar o combustível junto ia demorar mais. Você concorda comigo ou não? Não, só para esclarecer, nós estamos transmitindo numa grande família. O amigo do Brasil também está discutindo em casa, botou, não botou, tirou, botou. Tá certo? Nós estamos juntos. E vamos aproveitar então para a gente dar um relax.
Emerson came in so quick, Paul. It was a very fast pit stop, but he was just there before. And what the pit crews do is they try to figure out the sequences so they'll be at the proper place at the end of the race.
The grandstand and the blimp up behind as under the yellow flag once again in Indianapolis. We'll be back right after this. We're back live at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We've just seen some great pit stops. Of course, that's the key to changing positions at the Indianapolis 500 when the driver can't get it done. The Patrick team just got it done for Emerson Fittipaldi. Earlier in the week, there was a pit stop competition held here.
In a business where success is measured by speed and split-second timing, IndyCar pit crews serve quietly as the sport's hidden heroes. Their efforts may sometimes be obscured by the excitement of Victory Lane, but their skills are showcased here annually in the running of the $50,000 Miller Indy Pit Stop Championship. This year's first semifinal pitted Al Unser Sr. driving a Penske backup car against his son Al Jr. The contest rewards the team that completes a simulated pit stop in the shortest period of time, and Little Al's crew did just that to move to the finals. In the second semi, Mario Andretti in the right lane faced off against Emerson Fittipaldi. The Andretti team, led by Colin Duff, was the winner with a stop of 13.649 seconds. This set up an Unser-Andretti finale, with both crews confident of victory. Little Al's crew got to go to work first when their driver hit the stop marks. As the Andretti team then went to work, Unser's crew used split-second timing to finish their tasks. Mario's crew, meanwhile, faltered with problems tightening the left rear wheel. Sensing that the win was within grasp, Junior smokes the tires and crosses the timing lights with a clocking of 14.716 seconds. For Team Gallus, led by Owen Snyder, and crew members Paul Marcus, Shea Campbell, Kyle Moyer, Mike Arnold, and Gary Armentrout, it was a moment to truly enjoy. For them, today was a day to step out of their roles as hidden heroes and enjoy the applause and rewards that true champions deserve.
$25,000. That's better than a lot of races pay for winning. The view down on the 2.5 miles of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway from the Goodyear Airship America, based out in Houston, Texas. Don McDuff, the captain on board today, helping give you some of the beautiful coverage shots of the Indianapolis 500 and some action shots as well. Giant crowd here, nearly 500,000 people. Emerson Fittipaldi circulates around, completing the 144th lap under yellow in the lead. We'll be back with more from Indianapolis. Back live at the Indianapolis 500-mile race, still under yellow. Emerson Fittipaldi leads, 145 laps complete. Next Saturday on ABC Sports, the high rollers of the Professional Bowlers Spring Tour will be in Las Vegas, Nevada for the Showboat PBA Doubles Classic. Now, bowlers there will team up for big money. It's the final stop of the Spring Tour, and the action starts Saturday on ABC Sports. And then it's Wide World of Sports. You'll see a unique combination of gymnastics and figure skating. It's the very first time. Accomplished athletes like Brian Bottano, Bart Connor, Robin Cousins, and more display their skills in the Caress Symphony of Sports. A truly special event next Saturday on ABC's Wide World of Sports. Now the field still behind the pace car, working their way around the track, while the USAC officials and safety crews try and scrub the track clean of any oil that may have been laid down in the last few minutes. Let's go down, Jacqueline.
With Teresa Fittipaldi, whose husband is leading this event today. And Teresa, you said just before we went on the air, I think today is Emerson's day.
I think so. He deserves. He's really excited.
Now, every time he comes by, you've rested here on your perch and haven't moved at all. And when he goes by, you take your hand and you just go like that. What's that about?
Means energy, positive. Gives him some energy.
Now, there's another story that every time Emerson comes into the pits, you whisper something to him, although you're 15 feet away from him. What is that?
Means energy. Means good luck.
Good luck, and they certainly hope they have plenty of it, at least enough to last for this race, Paul Page. Now, let's check in with Brian Hammonds, who is with Carl Haas.
And Carl Haas is sitting on the scoring stand, charting the race for his drivers, Mario and Michael Andretti. Carl, you've got to be happy with where you're sitting with Michael.
Well, yeah, we had some problems with Mario, which is not too good. Michael's not sitting in a bad spot. He's obviously Fittipaldi's able to run a little quicker, but I think we still have a fighting chance with a little bit of luck. Hope we can hold in there and get a chance at it at the end.
Michael happy with the way the car's running?
Well, I guess he's fairly happy with the way it is. He'd like a little more speed, but it's okay.
Carl Haas, right now, his driver's sitting in second place. Now let's go to Jerry Punch.
Well, gentlemen, an anxious wife waiting here in the Al Unser Jr. pits. That's Shelley Unser. And Shelley, you've seen this act so many times, and how will the scene finish? I know Little Al has won on road courses and street courses, but he's yet to get that first oval track win. I know. Can you wait for the final 55 laps?
Oh, I hope so. I wish I knew the answer. At least we got our lap back. We're now on the same lap as the leader, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. You want some, Rick?
You're talking on the radio with Rick Gallis, the owner here, and the rest of the crew. Do you think Little Al has something left he can handle, Emo?
I don't know. Emma's running awfully quick. You just never know at this race what's going to happen. And, you know, there's so many things that enter into it, fuel and tires. And I'm just back here keeping a lap chart, so I wouldn't be able to tell you any of that.
Shelley Unser and hard pounding.
O Emerson veio bem. O Michael Andretti já vem ciscando ali atrás, hein? Vem ciscando o Michael. O Emerson tentando sair. Saiu ali do tráfego. Deixou no meio. Olha o Michael como vai, olha lá. Olha o Michael como vai. Não é nada com o carro do Emerson, não. Não se assuste, não. É exatamente o que puseram na pista. Vamos com calma. O giro aqui do coração subiu. O técnico de áudio aqui já falou rumo. Por enquanto, não. Vamos lá. Olha o Michael. Primeiro Emerson, segundo Michael Andretti. 149, 150 voltas, faltando 50 para o encerramento da prova. O Emerson agora, vamos ver a velocidade dele, 207 a 204. Ele está andando 3 a mais, 207 e 204. É a hora da corrida agora, hein? Essa é a hora da corrida, até pelo plano de estratégia que ele vai depois determinar. Daí Emerson Fittipaldi, 150 voltas realmente completadas, faltando 50.
50 to go now, 125 miles of the Indianapolis 500 left to be tested here on the Brickyard, the 2.5-mile speedway. Al Unser Jr., he runs in third place. He is 6 seconds behind the leader. He had 10 cars between this machine and that of Michael Andretti. He's trying to catch up that distance now.
Got traffic, Paul. He's quite a ways back in the pack. You notice all the cars that he's going by, and that's really hurting him a little bit because Emerson Fittipaldi, right there on the screen, is in clean air. He has no traffic. He's setting sail hard right now.
And you will notice when you see the onboard pictures of Little Al's car that he has a liquid crystal display on the dash in front of him. The drivers here at the 500 for the very first time actually have a speedometer. He can look down and know exactly how fast he's going. In the past, they've had only tachometers, which give him a relative idea of speed, but now there you can see that's his tachometer, which is a graph now on the car that shows exactly how fast the engine is turning.
That's part of a system, Paul, that gives you complete information on anything they want to...
Um momento pouco ingrato, né, cá pra nós, né? Você realmente tem gráficos bonitos, mas nessa altura do campeonato...
The dashboard of the Lola car, which Michael Andretti is driving, it has a sort of Star Wars look to it. The key is that it's computerized, got digital readouts rather than conventional analog instruments. Pretty neat looking stuff.
Sam, they really don't look at those either. What they do is try to glance at them when they come off the turn. What they're doing down the straightaway at the end of the straightaway is non-important at all to the drivers.
Bobby, have you determined, is there a preference for this or the old analog dial system where they used to point the dials so that when everything was pointed straight up, everything was perfect? Which do the drivers seem to prefer?
Oh, they would all like the hand, Paul, but they can't get away from the new computer technology. That instrument tells them so much, like what their fuel mileage is, how much they have left. It's a complete computerized system for the car.
Michael Andretti now closing down on the leader, Emerson Fittipaldi, and gets past. So Michael Andretti picks up the lead of the Indianapolis 500. Emerson seemed to falter for just a second and slowed down just a bit. So now here is...
O público vibra. Público vibra. Americano, é lógico. A ultrapassagem foi na curva 3. Exatamente. Já deu um replay para você. Ele foi perigosamente, fez a tomada e agora nós estamos tentando, quer dizer, ele e Emerson tem que chegar e manter essa diferença. Vamos ver o que vai acontecer. Está mantendo. Não se assuste que o circuito oval não quer dizer muito não, hein?
So Michael Andretti overhauls the leader, Emerson Fittipaldi. Again, the battle is at the front of this 500-mile race field. Most of the top 20 are not truly in contest with one another. We'll keep our eyes open for battles back through the pack. Let's go back here a couple of laps and take a look at Michael Andretti as he closed on the leader, Emerson Fittipaldi. Here they come, Bobby Unser.
Saiu da 3, saiu da 2 e na entrada da 3. Olha lá. Tirou e fechou, mas ali, veja bem, eu acho que foi calculado. Não quero ser mais realista do que o rei. O Emerson é um piloto que sabe o ponto que tem que também usar essa estratégia, essa audácia, entende? Porque o carro, olha lá, eles estão andando praticamente juntos. Aí está Michael Andretti. É uma transmissão da Bandeirantes para você, faltando 55 voltas. Aliás, 44 voltas. 44 voltas, os dois estão em centésimos de segundo lutando pela liderança das 500 milhas de Indianápolis. Tem Emerson atrás de Michael. Há muito tempo a gente não tem uma corrida como essa. Há muito tempo. E tem um detalhe muito importante que a Kika está lembrando aqui. Desde 1966 que nenhum estrangeiro ganhou a Fórmula Indy aqui. As 500 milhas. Sempre o americano. Hoje o brasileiro pertinho ali, hein?
Provided 2 staggers here at the track, but they can still augment that slightly by putting a little more air in the tire and trying to get it to grow just a little bit more. Stagger helps the car turn into the corner, but if they have too much stagger, then the car turns in a little too fast, and then it becomes loose. Another definition that we had earlier, which is to say the back end wants to swing out all the way around.
Absolutely right, Paul. It's a good explanation, and there is approximately 1 inch difference. And yet, at these kind of speeds, that's the world. That's a big thing.
And the key question, of course, is what is going on in Emerson Fittipaldi's mind. And I think what you have to understand is he can't try any harder than he's trying now. A driver can only do so much in these cars. And when you have that push condition, you just have to ride it out to the next pit stop. Very frustrating for him. He's got to desperately gamble that a yellow is going to come out or he's going to lose enough ground that it could be decisive in this race.
We were talking earlier, too, about the PC-18s and the fact that 3 of them are already out, and do the design problems that may exist on some exist on others. You must remember that it was the Patrick Racing team that first identified the possibility of a real rear cowling coming off, as happened with Danny Sullivan.
A equipe é também o dono da equipe do Emerson Fittipaldi. Vamos esperar que o Fittipaldi possa ser decisivo, ainda que eu estou com o Luciano.
Olha lá. Emerson e Michael. Aquele 16.2 ali, eu sinceramente não entendi. Que não são 16 segundos, só se for 16 centésimos. Olha o Michael que vai começar a pegar tráfego. O Mário Andretti voltou para a pista, hein? E está em 7º lugar o Mário Andretti. Eu vou te contar uma família danada, não? É o Michael Andretti. É o Michael Andretti quando a gente dizia que o Emerson estava com a cabeça no lugar. Michael Andretti estoura o motor em Indianápolis. O que é do homem, o bicho não come. Mas não pagava 10. Lógico, a gente agora vai expressando, vai dizer assim, não, Luciano, tá cascateando, tá chutando, mas eu tinha dentro de mim um feeling, e quando o Emerson vai pro box, tá certo o Emerson, agora é reabastecer e ganhar a corrida, meu Deus do céu. É reabastecer e ganhar a corrida. Faltam, vamos contar aqui, vamos com calma. Faltam 37 voltas. E o lance 13 segundos dele. O Emerson, quando sentiu que o Michael estava forçando, ele deixou passar. Ele deixou passar. Olha só a feição do Michael Andretti, a expressão do Michael Andretti. 11º. Existe um limite no carro. E a gente vem frisando para você, cuidado, porque agora é o momento da quebra, agora é o momento do detalhe. Normalmente numa Fórmula Indy nas 500 milhas, quem está liderando a partir desse ponto começa a levar o carro. Ele não começa a correr, ele começa a levar o carro. É o que está acontecendo. Conduzir o carro até a final.
Out at Indianapolis, the way his dad has so often here before.
Look at the stare at Michael's eyes, the disappointment. The Indianapolis 500 could have been his.
He has a right to be sad, Paul.
The rope is to help them tow the car back into the pit areas.
Strange how much his eyes, which looked so youthful just last week compared to Mario's, sort of already just in today's proceedings taken on extra wisdom that goes with such severe disappointment as this.
Fans wish so much for the Andretti family. And once again, it has come to this time, though, it strikes Michael. So many people want to see Michael score his first Indianapolis 500-mile race win. They thought perhaps this was the day. Now, with Emerson Fittipaldi's pit stop, that brought Al Unser Jr. up to the front of the field, and under the yellow, Little Al will be scored in the front of the race. Well, Little Al has yet to make his pit stop, and there's Michael on the rope on the way into the pits, and his day is done. Now, it was over on the front straightaway that this situation first developed. The car was looking so good and so fast. There's his car moving down the main street.
Também liderava quando faltavam algumas voltas em 1987 e também teve que abandonar. Liderava quando faltavam apenas 6 voltas em 73 e também teve que abandonar. Realmente a família Andretti tem que se benzer quando o assunto é 500 milhas.
Bom, a situação é a seguinte agora, né? Claro, a Sandra Andretti chora copiosamente, todo o time Andretti, porque largou na 21ª posição. Realmente o Michael Andretti é um piloto de show. Ele é um piloto, ele é acrobático, rápido, rapidíssimo. E o Michael Andretti volta e vamos ter nova largada. Na frente está o Al Unser Jr., porque o Emerson foi pro box. E agora eu quero ver a posição dele na largada. Quero lembrar vocês que o Emerson, com essa parada, tem muita corrida ainda, são 36 voltas. O Elia lembrava bem, o primeiro pit stop foi feito com 20 e poucas voltas, mas teve bandeira amarela. O Emerson provou que o carro dele é superior ao do Al Unser Jr. Vamos então pro Pato. Ele é superior a esse carro aí. Mas o Emerson deve voltar. Se bem que bandeira amarela, muitas vezes você consegue voltar na mesma posição. Não vai dar, os carros estão passando ali. Então o Emerson volta à primeira posição e tem tudo para ganhar a corrida, por todas as razões. Primeiro, está andando mais que o Al Unser Jr. andou o tempo todo. Segundo, o terceiro colocado, que é o carro de número 6, está fora. O terceiro é o Boesel agora. O Boesel está 5 voltas atrás. 5 voltas atrás. O Boesel só ganha a corrida se o Emerson parar, se o Al Unser Jr. parar.
Get the rest of the way on fuel, Rick.
We have to wait and see.
A big smile from car owner Rick Gallis. They were rolling the dice, trying to decide when to bring him in. They said, wait 1 more lap. No, wait 2 more laps. They're hoping for some yellow flag laps, but I believe they think they could make it. Paul?
Well, Bobby, they stopped on 165 laps. 200 laps is the distance. We're now within 100 miles of the end of the Indianapolis 500. You think they're going to go the distance?
Paul, it's going to make a heck of a story at the end because it's going to be close. We're just in one of those real nice little fairy tale stories. Little Al, it's going to be very close, but he's not the only one. Emo is also going to be close. Now let's just see if perchance they stay yellow for a few more laps. Emo may decide to duck in and get a last shot, but they're not going to. They're heading for the...
Novas emoções, o Emerson, vamos lá, garoto do Brasil. Vamos lá, o Alonso está lá atrás. Agora é torcida todinha concentrada. Vamos olhar bonito para essa telinha aí. Recomeçando as 500 milhas. Raul Boesel do Brasil, o terceiro colocado. Aí está o Unser. São 7 segundos dele para Emerson Fittipaldi. Emerson está à frente 7 segundos. Tá? 166 voltas completadas. Michael Andretti. A diferença foi para 8.4. O Emerson virou a 211.
Fittipaldi climbed that last lap. Now the question, of course, is fuel. There's 40 gallons of fuel in each of these race cars when they are full. That takes them a distance that, Bobby, by my calculations, brings them right up against lap 200. What do you think?
Well, I think they're really going to be up against it. Little Al's going to be just a tick better than Emma is on that ball, but not very much. And ironically, they're both, if they decide to go this way, they're both going to have to ease up on the gas. Now, Emma could, on the other hand, just go like a house on fire, come in and try to get a splash on fuel.
All right, let's get an update now from Jack Arute.
First of all, if you look at Emerson Fittipaldi's fuel tank, there's about 60 gallons left. Plenty of fuel to go the distance. We checked with the team, and the brain trust here has said we are going to come in for a time stop. Somewhere around 12 to 10 laps to go in this event. That's their planning right now. But for so many times we've seen here in the Indy 500, those plans can go awry by way of a caution or something that happens on the racetrack. Back to you.
That harkens back to 1982 when the Patrick Racing team did exactly the same thing for Gordon Johncock. They knew how many gallons he needed to get to the end of the race. They calculated the fuel flow in the hose. They decided they needed only so many seconds. I think it was 7 or 8. And as soon as they hit 7 seconds, somebody reached out with a pole, tapped the refueler on his helmet. He pulled the hoses free, and Gordon Johncock, in a tight battle with Rick Mears, won by 14 100ths of a second.
You know, Paul, even in this race today, you won't even need that much time because all they need, either one of them, is probably a measly little 3 gallons of alcohol, and they could be the winner from it.
So Emerson Fittipaldi is running laps faster than Al Unser Jr. Fittipaldi is out in front, running at 214. 10 seconds back is little Al, running laps at 213. But this Indy 500 is not over yet. We'll be back. We're back at the Indianapolis 500, and there is the car of Michael Andretti in the pits, silent. His day is done. Let's go to Brian Hemmings.
Michael Andretti and his wife, Sandy. Michael, what was it that ended your day?
Well, the engine blew.
At any point, you were running so well. At any point during this race, were you thinking to yourself that my dad won this thing 20 years ago, and here I am leading Indy?
Yeah, and I guess I inherited more than just his driving. I think I inherited a bit of his luck here at this place because, you know, the car was just so good. I was just taking my time, you know, a nice conservative pace, not trying to take anything out of it. But obviously, I guess we took too much out of it. I don't know where.
For a while today, Michael Andretti really had him covered. Paul?
A good driver, a likable man, out of the 500-mile race. In the pits, here is Raul Boesel. He is the third-place car, but he is 5 laps behind the leader. The only 2 cars in contact on the course are Emerson Fittipaldi and Al Unser Jr. The 4th-place car is Mario Andretti, but he is 6 laps behind the leader. So Boesel, using one of the Judd engines, continues to be in the hunt, makes his stop in 1.2 seconds. Boesel works his way back into the traffic. And here is the 22 car, and he has a problem. Now, he was running in 4th place before he came in for this pit stop. But now, obviously, a bit of a problem on that car. A lengthy stop, but they get it fired up once again. And there goes Scott Brayton back into the action as well.
But the distances between the 3rd-place car of Boesel and the 4th-place car here of Brayton and the others is so great that they can afford a few seconds here and there. It's really the leaders who can afford nothing. Every split second counts between Emerson Fittipaldi and Al Unser Jr.
There is the leader, Emerson Fittipaldi, 177 laps complete. He slowed down yet another mile an hour, running 212 and a half now. Let's go to the pits and Jerry Punch.
Well, it's nail-biting time here in the Al Unser Jr. pits. They have been doing a lot of calculating here on the fuel mileage, and Rick Gallis, 35 laps, 87 and a half miles. Can you make it the rest of the way?
We're gonna see. We're gonna see.
You got him backing off a little bit to maybe conserve some fuel?
He didn't back off to anybody. I mean, we're trying as hard as we can, and we're 5 laps up on 3rd place. So we're going for it. I mean, you only get a chance to win this sucker once, and we're going to do the best we can.
I think that puts it in perspective, fellas. They really want to win here at Indy. Al Unser Jr. thinks they can go all the way.
Rick Gallis. Boy, is that aggression or what?
I think that's nice. You can tell Rick Gallis is a true racer. It's taking him a while, but I'm guaranteeing you, that is the competitive spirit. Don't you think, Sam?
One chance to win this sucker. I like that. Absolutely.
Go for it.
Terrific. You know, 7 Chevrolet engine car combinations started this race. Only 2 are left, and they are placed 1 and 2.
Mario, 4th place car into the pits. Routine service as well. This is the 178th lap of the Indianapolis 500.
Mario should be able to go all the way to the end with his fuel. He should have no problem.
Mario Andretti powers up back into the action. No problem on that car. If only Michael had that machine. Perhaps he would still be contesting Emerson Fittipaldi for victory at the Indianapolis 500-mile race. Fittipaldi still runs in front. There's A.J. Foyt. No, it's not. That's Rocky Moran's car. A.J. Foyt just behind. There he is, the number 14 car, right behind his team car of Rocky Moran, and Mario right there. A.J. Foyt, his 32nd race, runs in 5th place on this track. The first 4-time winner of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. So now we go into the closing laps of the 73rd running of the Indy 500. 20 more to go now. Emerson Fittipaldi is the leader. Al Unser Jr. is chasing. We're back live at the Indianapolis 500. A wheel rolling loose, coming off of the 4th turn on the main stretch. It belonged to Taro Pomroth's car. The crew out there got it stopped before it went back into the lane of traffic. We are under yellow.
Bringing out the yellow is going to be a big factor. Another change in strategies. Now Emo's into the pit to get a splash. Now we're going to have to see what little Al's going to do. He won't have enough fuel to run real hard to go to the end, Paul. That's for sure.
So Emerson Fittipaldi comes down under this yellow flag to make a pit stop. He sits in the pit. Al Unser Jr. working his way still around the course. It appears certain that Fittipaldi will complete his pit stop and come out into the action.
O Unser Jr. na pista. Passou na frente dele. Só que o Unser vai ter que parar, hein? Olha lá o Emerson lá. Não, o Emerson está saindo na frente, olha lá. Saiu na frente. Saiu na frente o Unser ainda. Fez a parada e saiu na frente. Que maravilha, hein? Pit stop realmente fantástico do Emerson, hein? Fantástico do Emerson. Acontece o seguinte, a bandeira amarela não foi colocada, hein? Não foi colocada. Você vê o pit stop que fez o Emerson Fittipaldi, hein? Um pit stop fantástico do Emerson. Porque ela não foi colocada, não foi acionada. Pode ser acionada agora. Agora sim. Os carros agora diminuem. O Emerson à frente do Unser. Fez o seu pit stop. E que pneu de quem foi, hein? Ah, rapaz. Olha só. Mas vou dizer uma coisa pra você. Esse também nasceu, hein? O pneu saiu esquerdo. Carro de número 56.
Pareceu o Dominic Dobson ali e acabou ficando sem pneu. Hoje fazendo 36 anos de idade, o Taro Pomroth fazendo 36 anos de idade. Mas podia ter deixado para perder o pneu um pouquinho depois, né, meu compadre? Comemorava o aniversário depois. Eu achei esquisito.
Al, hand up in the air on the backstretch, riding in 2nd place. He's lined up right behind Emo on the racetrack. It should be a sprint to the finish. We're back live at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in our 6th caution period of the day. Let's go to the pits. Here's Brian Hammond.
Paul, this yellow flag is really helping Al Unser Jr. At these low speeds. He's able to conserve fuel. Rick Gallis, the team owner, says we have plenty of fuel now. We're going racing toward the finish. Back to you.
Well, Bobby, what about the tactics of that? Is that what you would have done?
Well, Paul, I think I would have splashed him on just a little bit, let him turn everything up, turn a lower gear, and just let that thing go all the way, because we already know that Emo has enough fuel to make it. If he doesn't break, he's going to be really tough. A little Al's work cut out for him now.
Little Al, second place. Emerson Fittipaldi, the 20 car, just ahead. There they are, lined up behind the pace car.
The fuel gets about double mileage. You figure a pace car, or excuse me, a yellow flag lap, it's called, it'd be about twice the mileage that you get under the green. They're running in like second or third gear, not really getting super good mileage, but about double what they normally get.
Now, we've mentioned that third place, Raul Boisel, is 5 laps behind the leader. Now, if that is that's a situation for him, the way they've played this race serves Boisel's advantage because they're going to flag the race at 200 laps. So any of the cars that are running well behind the leaders can go just as fast as they want to go now, can't they?
Absolutely right. But I think that most of those cars back there, like for example Boisel, has run good all day. I think he's going flat out anyway. But you're right, he just doesn't have to get the mileage that the leaders do.
Well, Scotty Brayton, 6th place right now. Last 4 Indy 500s, finished 30th or worse, so it's a pretty good day for him no matter how he looks at it. And Scott Pruitt, who started 17th, is up now into 8th place. So let's take a look at the situation with regard to Little Al. He's never won on an oval. He certainly never won the Indianapolis 500.
Essas 15 voltas, como a gente cuida da vida. Largou de novo. Largou de novo. Vai embora, vai embora. Isso. Deixa o retardatário. Isso. Energia, força. Calma, Teresa. Calma, Teresa. Mas assusta a mim. A mim, tanto faz. E os brasileiros? Olha o Emerson. Faltando 14 voltas. Tem que sair desse tráfego aí. A Lancia vem atrás. É claro. Vai tentar tudo ali, né? O Boesel é o terceiro colocado. Olha só a Sheila e Lancia. Instantes de muita emoção. O brasileiro já se livrou do Boesel. Boesel dá não, chega pra lá não digo, mas chega pra cá. Chega pra cá, eu acho. Faltando 14 voltas, você com o show do esporte e você com a Bandeirante. Dirigindo em Indianápolis com 2 brasileiros, é dose dupla de emoção para você. Emerson e a Teresa olhando para cima, lógico, e o Boesel, e gozado, o Boesel trouxe a família toda, trouxe a mãe, trouxe a sua avó, e a querida vovó do Boesel sentiu-se emocionada quando chegou no box e falou, não vou ver a prova do filho aqui não, ficou no hotel. Imagine ela se estivesse aqui, né? Emerson na frente, faltando 13 voltas. 13 voltas para o encerramento em Indianápolis. Al-Unser Jr. o segundo. Boesel o terceiro. Emerson o primeiro. Boesel está à frente aí do Al-Unser. Mas é claro, ele tem 5 voltas atrás.
Happened. Boisel had engine problems. Little Al got by. Look at the smoke coming out of Boisel's car right now, or at least the fluid.
The Shearson entry of Raul Boisel, running in 3rd place, but beginning to show problems. It gives an opportunity for Al Unser Jr. to continue to move ahead.
But it's holding back a little bit, Paul. That's another little thing that's gone against him right now. He's really got a job cut out with Emo having a good, clean track to run on.
That's where luck has such an impact on this 500-mile race. You just never know what's going to happen next out here.
Sometimes you get out of bed on the right side, sometimes the wrong side. Shelley is really disappointed, as you can see.
He is one terrific woman, I think a great effect on Al Unser Jr., who of course was tutored by his dad, Bobby, your brother, in racing, but I think in ways of dealing with the press and being the open, wonderful person that he is, Al Unser Jr., I think have been greatly affected by Shelley. Do you buy that assessment?
Oh, she's been a very good girl, and you could just tell her by her actions in the pits. She really supports her husband an awful lot. She gets born to racing, I think, that most of us do.
The leader, Emerson Fittipaldi, car number 20. Little Al is just 1.8 seconds back. And here comes Emerson Fittipaldi on the main stretch now, flashing by to complete the 190th lap. And look at her. Just infuse energy, those fingers of energy going out to Fittipaldi.
She's counting the laps. Did you see her say, go get them, and then look up the scoreboard counting the laps, Paul?
Now, in history of the Indianapolis 500, at lap 190, the leader in 9 previous occasions has not finished out in front. Most recent, of course, Kevin Cogan, with 10 laps to go, lost to Bobby Rahal, 1983. Al Unser led on 190 laps, but Tom Sneva won.
If Emerson can win the race, he will follow in Mario Andretti's footsteps, of course, as a man who has won both the World Championship and the Indy 500. Although, of course, Mario did it other order as you see Teresa wish on that great energy. And we noted that Emerson eats a very special diet of fruit and grains. He gets plenty of aerobic exercise, so that energy really means something in that family.
Now there's little Al, right on the track, not up as close as he'd like to be.
Continues his pursuit. 191 laps complete. 1.6 seconds.
Muito perto do Emerson. Emerson virando ao Lancer. Emerson não pode não, hein? Diminuiu bastante Emerson agora. O Lancer vai para cima. Emerson Fittipaldi fica numa situação difícil, faltando 8 voltas para o encerramento. Veja só como vem a Lancer para cima do Emerson. Tem que virar no limite. Virar no limite. Veja como ele tenta abrir. A Lancer tenta chegar, o tônimo de pé, o brasileiro fica numa posição difícil. Faltando 8 voltas para o encerramento. Ele dizia há pouco numa reportagem, eu gosto de guiar com pressão. Mas muita pressão também é demais, né? Para todo mundo. A Lancer vem. Olha a situação, é dificílima para o brasileiro. Faltando agora 7 voltas. Todo mundo junto com a Lancer. Tem que ir, vai, é isso aí, tem que ir mesmo. É embaixo agora, o rato, vou meter esse pé embaixo agora. Temos que fazer esse giro. Ele sabe, olha o tráfego. 7 voltas, 6,5 agora. Avança por dentro. Emerson, fecha a porta, põe o trinco, põe a chave. Não pode deixar. Agora é a hora que ele tem que mostrar. Vamos lá, é o Brasil ali na frente, faltando agora 6 voltas. Tráfego à frente, trafeguinho, vamos sair dele. É o Mário André que está ali, hein? É o Mário André que está lá. Vamos lá, Emerson. O Emerson vai passar em cima do muro lá, hein? Cuidado, hein? Cuidado. Olha aí, os dois juntos. Espetacular esse final de 500 milhas. Emerson, Alonso Júnior. Vamos lá. Ele mantém os dois jogando iguais. 216 iguais. Faltando 5 voltas e meia. O Mário André tem que sair daí, Mário. Tem que sair daí. Vamos ver. Na saída, por dentro. Você vem por fora, perto do muro. A tangência do brasileiro. A tangência dele. É dele a tangência. Tá certo, Emerson. Vamos lá, Emerson. A Lancer abriu para passar. Vamos lá, Emerson. Não deixa, beleza. Ainda, Emerson. 5 voltas terríveis. 5 voltas terríveis. Olha o brasileiro espetacular. Que final de 500 milhas. Os dois juntos. A Lancer por dentro. Vamos ver. Olha o perigo, a Lancer. Tomou a Lancer Júnior. Tomou. Faltando 4 voltas e meia. Calma, Teresa. Tem corrida ainda. 4 voltas e meia. Emerson Fittipaldi tem que preparar esse bloco aí. Tem que preparar o bloco, Emerson. Tem que chegar perto do Lancer. Como é que andou o tempo todo, o motor agora não chega lá. Tem que chegar 213 e 214. Vamos ver. Emerson ao Lancer. Faltando agora 3 voltas e meia. Emerson se aproxima de Lancer Júnior. Vamos ver. Não está perdido não, hein? Vamos ver. Daí a Lancer. Tem que virar aí 2 milhas a mais por volta, né? Senão não chega. Olha a expectativa final de cinema das 500 milhas de Indianápolis. Emerson vai se aproximando outra vez de Lancer Júnior. Vamos ver, o garoto de um lado, a experiência do bicampeão do mundo. Faltam 3 voltas agora, 3 voltas. Olha a expectativa dos boxes. E o Emerson vem junto, colado com o Lancer Júnior. A Uruguaia na terceira posição. Tem que encostar agora nessa reta, Emerson. Tem que encostar agora. Faltando 2 voltas e meia. 2 voltas e meia para a decisão das 500 milhas. Emerson Lancer, ele vai arriscar. Não se iluda que ele vai arriscar. Ele vai partir para cima num tráfego desse aí. A Lancer tenta segurar a posição. Daí o brasileiro faltando agora 2 voltas. 2 voltas para o encerramento. Olha o tráfego aí. A Lancer saiu por dentro, saiu bem. Saiu bem a Lancer. Vem Emerson. O traçado ali foi prejudicado, hein? Foi prejudicado no traçado brasileiro. Vamos ver. Olha ele chegando. encostou na lança, vai por dentro, Emerson, vai por dentro, vai que você passa, agora, é o Brasil, vai lá, força, mais um pouquinho, vamos ver, bateu o lance, Emerson vai ganhar, o Brasil ganhou, sabe por quê? Vai dar bandeira amarela e o Emerson está na frente, ganhou o Brasil! Espetacular! Demais! Uma vitória que vai ficar para a história de todos nós! Espetacular! Emerson, valente, colocou dentro o carro e não deixou passar mesmo! Deu o Brasil nas 500 milhas de Indianápolis! E Boazio é o segundo colocado! Dupla brasileira! Ô Boca! Esqueça esse ano, grande vitória, fantástico para desespero dos norte-americanos. Está todo mundo numa pesquisa rapidíssima aqui. Eles estão simplesmente desesperados. Estão tentando colocar aí algum tipo de problema naquela tentativa de ultrapassagem ao Untitled sobre o Emerson Fittipaldi. Acontece que o Emerson Fittipaldi tinha prioridade, tinha tangente a seu favor e conseguiu uma absoluta vitória, uma grande vitória do brasileiro Emerson Fittipaldi. E repete Mário Andretti, após conquistar o título na Fórmula 1, conquistar também as 500 milhas do oceano. Dupla brasileira, Brasil, duas vezes no pódio. Deu Emerson, pra ver se deu o Boazio em segundo, hein? Pra ver se deu o Boazio, porque eles estão a 6 voltas. Vamos ver agora. Acho que deu ao Untitled em segundo. Oficialmente ao Untitled em segundo, Boazio em terceiro. Eram 6 voltas, ok? Ao Untitled em segundo e Boazio em terceiro. Mas o brasileiro Emerson é o primeiro brasileiro a ganhar as 500 milhas de Indianápolis. E o final parece script de filme. Tá aí o brasileiro. Aí prometeu que vem aqui conversar com a gente. Agora o trabalho é todo seu, Milhas Júnior. Se manda pros boxes. Vamos com calma. Teresa, nós temos todo o tempo possível. Agora vamos ver, olha lá. Olha o lance. Olha só. O Emerson caiu para dentro. E ele bateu no pneu do Emerson Fittipaldi. Para sorte, o brasileiro foi igual àquela chegada com Danny Sullivan. Ele não teve a menor participação. O Emerson, mais uma vez, foi cavaleiro brilhante, porque por dentro ele ainda abriu um pouquinho. Veja bem, olha lá, ó. Quer ver? Olha o Emerson. Ó. O Emerson tomou. O Emerson tomou exatamente como é que se diz, a tangente da curva, que não tem nada que reclamar. É o legítimo, grande, extraordinário vencedor das 500 milhas de Indianápolis. Parabéns ao Emerson. Que corrida, que corrida. Quebrando o tabu de 23 anos. Que coisa, hein? O tabu dos estrangeiros, né? No Brasil, nunca ninguém chegou até lá. Daí no pódio. Vamos acompanhar a festa brasileira. Impressionante o final da corrida. Impressionante o final da corrida. Vai fazer 42 anos esse grande campeão. E foi bicampeão do mundo de Fórmula 1. 2 vezes vice-campeão. E agora, a maior conquista que...
Trying to move the car here just a little bit forward.
Qualquer piloto pode o que ganhou. Porque esse final nós vamos ter que passar várias e várias vezes, porque não foi filme não, foi verdade. É porque temos esse desafio, foi arrumado. Esse foi verdade, esse final foi verdadeiro. Ali a Teresa. Vamos ver se nós temos aí o som daqui a pouco da festa ali. O Elias Júnior já deve estar chegando por ali. A vitória dramática, suada, dificílima. Olha só a taça.
Emerson, you're an Indy 500 champion in 1989.
I cannot believe the team made a great work. You know, everybody, Morrison, Pat, Jim, I want to thank all the boys. It was an incredible race.
What about the contact between you and Al Jr.? What happened back there?
I was going inside of turn 3 and he's inside because of traffic. And he tried to go onto the inside to touch the wheels and I nearly spun off inside and we lost.
You've won 2 World Driving Championships, but this is your first time to win at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in what they call the greatest spectacle in racing. What are your thoughts right now?
You know, Jack, I still cannot believe it. I dreamed so much since I was a little boy. Fantastic.
Olha o Elias Júnior. É brincadeira. Elias Júnior consegue furar o bloqueio da ABC e hoje é festa brasileira, tem que furar. O câmera ainda tem que dar um take. Você dá um take no Elias Júnior, né? Quer dizer, tem que
Well, I think, Paul Page, that certainly tells you just how important this race is to you, Emerson Fittipaldi. It's just incredible that you ran so well all day, and then Al closed up on you, and he was really concerned about fuel, and you weren't.
His car was much faster on the straight, and luckily I got the traffic.
They want a moment to share.
Eu quero mandar um abraço a todos os brasileiros aí e para o automobilismo brasileiro essa vitória. Obrigado.
He just said his victory lane interview to the people in Brazil who are watching this live.
Muito bem, tá aí a festa brasileira, confirmado. Raul Boesel, terceiro colocado, brilhante Boesel. Quarto colocado, Mário Andretti, carro de número 5. Quinto colocado, este fenômeno, essa legenda, AJ Foyt. Nós vamos para o intervalo comercial, retornaremos daqui a pouquinho nesta vitória que encheu de orgulho a todos nós do Brasil. Eu realmente fico orgulhoso de estar junto de Emerson e Boesel esta tarde aqui em Indianápolis. E a Bandeirantes, é claro, como sempre, mostrando seu pé quente. 500 milhas ganhas por um brasileiro. Voltamos já já. Bandeirantes, o canal do esporte.
Little Al looked over to see Fittipaldi there. He kept his foot down, went into the corner, turned in, stayed well above the line, but then was tapped by Fittipaldi, and he slammed into the wall. Fortunately, Al Unser Jr. was not injured in this accident. In fact, he hopped out of the car almost immediately, and he can't believe his fortune here today. Fittipaldi was down below. Now, consider the ironic situation here that back at the Meadowlands just last year, these two were battling there too, and they tapped one another. Only in that case, it was Fittipaldi who was out in front. Little Al went to the inside, they tapped, and it was Fittipaldi that came up the loser. Let's go to the pits, Brian Hemmings.
And Rick Allis can still manage a smile even after coming very close to winning the Indianapolis 500. Rick, your thoughts?
Well, it was, it was quite a thrill leading it there at the end because we thought we had a chance to win it. But I want to congratulate the Patrick team and Emerson. They did a fantastic job and they hung in there all day and they were fast.
Aqui em Indianápolis, acredito com todos vocês em todo o Brasil, porque não foi só uma corrida, né? Então, esse final é um final que passa a ser discutido. Olha lá. Foi a roda de trás que pegou e acabou se enganchando na roda do Emerson. O Emerson não moveu a direção um instante sequer para o lado direito, ou seja, para o lado de dentro da pista, para jogar o Al Unser Jr., como ele quis dizer. Mas há poucos instantes, o chefe de equipe do Al Unser, ele quis parabenizar o Emerson Fittipaldi, dizendo que a corrida foi brilhante, e não tocou no assunto, quer dizer, não tirou o brilho da vitória, porque o Al Unser declarou Jr. declarou à ABC que ele foi empurrado pelo Emerson. E não é verdade. Não é verdade. Se fosse verdade, nós estaríamos dizendo que foi verdade, tá certo? E paciência, mas olha lá. O Emerson, inclusive, teve a preocupação de vir mais para baixo, foi quase para a grama, quando ele percebeu qual lance ele estava junto e sentindo a inexperiência, porque há uma diferença fundamental entre um homem de 42 anos, como o Emerson Fittipaldi, e um homem com 27 anos, como o Alonso Jr. Dá uma olhadinha, dá uma olhada só. O Alonso Jr. vem, o Emerson toma a tangência, o Alonso ainda chega mais perto do Emerson, né? O Emerson tenta sair dele e ele acaba enganchando a roda de trás na roda da frente do Emerson. Quer dizer, um final de cinema. Moesa, parabéns, hein, Moesa?
Obrigado, queria dar os parabéns para o Emerson também, que acho que entre os Chevrolets ele que andou melhor hoje, sem dúvida, quer dizer, teve um grande final e acho que ele merecia ganhar hoje.
Fazer uma pergunta para o Raul aqui, que eu estou começando a sentir, Raul, não, mesmo antes desse terceiro lugar seu aqui, que você passa a ser conhecido pelo público norte-americano e respeitado, principalmente depois do Campeonato Mundial de Marcas. Eu acho que esse terceiro lugar hoje solidifica você como um personagem norte-americano e até como um dos top 5 entre os pilotos norte-americanos a partir
que o Brasil também continue torcendo pela gente aí e vamos ver se vai ser televisionado mais para o Brasil essas corridas, para o pessoal ficar acompanhar. E também o que a gente tem que fazer agora é tentar desenvolver o nosso motor melhor, o Jazz, que para acompanhar o Chevrolet está duro por enquanto. E o que eu fiz na corrida foi manter um ritmo, já que não dava para acompanhar o ritmo do Chevrolet e o que foi melhor que não pôde fazer.
É verdade, aqui pelo computador, Raul, a gente acompanha você num reloginho, você manteve aquilo.
Emerson Fittipaldi, having gone down that low, just by the laws of physics, had to be carried up high.
Well, Emerson Fittipaldi continues his celebration at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the winner of the 73rd running of the Indianapolis 500. We'll be back with more coverage after this word from our local stations. This was Shelley Unser when she realized what had happened to her husband, that the Indianapolis 500 victory was not to be. Emerson Fittipaldi is the winner. We'll be back. Well, it's unofficial for the moment. It will remain so until 8:30 tomorrow morning when the official results will be posted. But it seems certain, no question, Emerson Fittipaldi has won the Indianapolis 500-mile race. We take a look at the unofficial results. Raul Boesel with his best IndyCar result to date. Mario Andretti in fourth. A.J. Foyt comes in and his last top 5 finish was 10 years ago. Brayton, Jones, Vogler, Bernard Jourdain. We look down 11 through 15. Jones, Bukovic, Heimrath, Moran, Daly, Palmroth, Michael Andretti, Dominic Dobson, Jim Crawford, Didier Tays, Ari Luyendyk, Pancho Carter, Rick Mears, Al Unser, John Andretti, Bobby Rahal, Tom Sneva, Danny Sullivan, Randy Lewis, Theo Fabi is 30th, Gordon Johncock, Kevin Kogan, Gary Bettenhausen, the unofficial finish of the Indianapolis 500. We hope to talk to Al Unser Jr. in just a moment while Emerson Fittipaldi continues his celebration.